Hello,
Hola.
you peeps. It's back. We're back. It's time for
It's the time.
the last of the trilogy of the Mario movie episodes of the VidGames podcast. Okay, so we saw the movie.
On opening day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of you two take the helm. Who wants to start with thoughts and things?
On thoughts and things.
Well, since he's drinking, I mean,
We have notes. At least I took some notes. I'll be referring to my notes
yeah.
every so often.
yeah, I didn't.
I got notes on my phone.
I'm relying.
I was about
on,
to say I don't see your
I'm
notes.
relying on the mental notes.
Vic's relying on his mental
in
notes.
My brain
I have
notes.
physical notes.
Yeah, digital
Okay, so
notes.
what are your thoughts?
That's what I'm trying to formulate.
Well,
now.
Okay, because we talked a little bit once we got out of the out of the theater.
Yeah, for probably about half an hour or so.
Yeah. So generally, it was fucking amazing. So I guess Chase, give me your thoughts then.
It was a good movie.
Besides that,
Considering the fact, pretty much whenever you see any kind of adaptation for a video game when it comes to television or movies or any kind of film media like that, you're automatically met with skepticism. So before we ever even saw a trailer, I was of the same mentality. I was like, all right, let's see. And then those trailers came out, and the way Illumination was kind of handling the whole thing, we got a little bit of a taste for it. Made me significantly more confident, although still questioning. The cast I know was a big concern for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. They weren't sure exactly what kind of balance they're going to take. Like if Illumination was going to kind of take the reins and put a lot more of their spin on it. So there was a lot of thoughts going into it. Like, how is this movie truly going to end up being? But I think overall, most of my concerns didn't end up coming to fruition. And I was very pleasantly surprised that as far as a video game film, it was very good. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. They did a really good job of implementing a little bit of, I'd probably say most of the Mario titles since that Mario came out, right? So even if you're not someone who's played every single game, there will be plenty of little, hidden gems that you would be able to recognize.
Someone's gonna pick something.
The more that you've played, the more you will have to appreciate from the film. That's for sure. And if for somebody like us who's played the majority of them, there was not too many scenes where there wasn't something that we would recognize.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
We kept going to each other and like, hey, it's that, and we'll get into some of them.
Yeah, every time a certain thing, I'd start chuckling or they'd start chuckling. And, we're like, oh, that's really cool. Everything from the characters to the visuals to sound cues to the music, little Easter eggs. I mean, it's all there.
Yeah, and this isn't going to be a play-by-play of the whole film. I mean, I would definitely say, obviously, go see it. However, this would be the perfect time to give the warning that we're going to go into spoilers. I don't think it's going to be easy for us to stay on track when it comes to, balancing out or even splitting. This half of the episode is non-spoilers. Here's the spoilers on the other half. We're just going to kind of encompass everything. And I'm sorry, I know that's not, the most, inclusive way to do it, but seriously, this should be something you listen to when you have already seen the film. Then come back over here, especially because too, if you want our thoughts, and they're outdated now, of course, for the most part. Like Chase was saying, there is the progression since this is the third in a trilogy of Mario movie themed podcast episodes. We started the podcast talking about the Mario movie when all we had to go off was the cast listing. So we gave our thoughts on that. Thoughts about I just hope that it comes out being a nice balance of Illumination and Nintendo, and then the second part was us being like, hey, trailer's out, it's looking pretty good. We got to hear some voices, but there's a lot left to be desired to really witness unfold other voices and other like environments and the story and everything. And now here's the full movie. So we'll just talk about what we remember, what stood out, whatever. And then just go off of what we liked. I would say what we didn't like, but we'll come across things. We'll talk about things that we know others are taking issue with and kind of address it in our own, subjective way, like in our own opinionated way.
And reviews are already coming out from both the users and critics, so you could always look into those.
Yeah, and what we're doing isn't even necessarily a review. At first, I was considering that we kind of critique it, but it's more of just riffing and just talking about it. So like, from that, like, I guess I'll start us off real quick and just say, my God, was it fucking good! Like, just Jesus Christ, it was amazing. And I was telling Vic yesterday, I think it was, if not today, like, I think it was yesterday when we were leaving. I was like, I want to refrain from saying I love it because it's the first day and it's the first viewing. However, there aren't very many movies I go see in theaters twice, but this is definitely one I want to go see again at some point. Whether it's by myself, with you, even if the three of us want to go again, I don't even care or know, but like, this is something I definitely want to, this is one I want to go see.
I remember Marcelo clapping at the end I film.
I did too.
The whole theater clapped.
You did too?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
a lot
whole
of theater, but I
clapped.
think you started the clapping.
I think it was both of us because
yeah.
I remember I did, and then Marcelo.
You were on the other side of him, so
Yeah.
I just saw him, but I believe it.
No, I definitely clapped because I was like, "Damn, this is such a."
But yeah, pretty much the whole theater started clapping. The majority, anyway.
Yeah, the majority did. The ones that weren't already.
Our theater also too, just to let you guys know, like, our theater isn't very fun in the sense that like the audience doesn't really get super like roped in. Like, they'll laugh when you're supposed to laugh and they'll clap when you're supposed to clap. It's not even at the end of every movie that I've ever gone to see at our theater where at the end the audience will clap, but like this was one of them. The audience was having fun. You would hear some murmurs up at the top. A lot of kids. Oh boy, a lot of kids went to see this movie.
But
for some odd reason, the family that was sitting in the entire row with us took up the rest of the row. They had to split themselves because we were in the middle.
Yeah,
They
had that middle
split
row.
themselves
Yeah,
across
that-
either side
it
of
was
us.
the same
Okay,
family.
That's why they kept going back and forth
Okay,
amongst
'cause
each
Or
other.
I
it
didn't
was either the
realize.
same family. It was at least the same group, right? It could have been one
Yeah,
family
yeah,
on one
yeah.
side and one to the other, and they went together. or
That's
something
what I
like
was
that.
thinking. If it was
Right.
a whole, if it was a whole ass
Thankfully,
family,
they
like,
didn't get in the way when the movie was happening. But beforehand, I'm like, oh, please don't let this be a whole
No, they were courteous once the
thing.
movie started.
Yeah.
My only thing was like, I remember you and when you said about how you and Wes went to go see Avengers, and there were like those annoying kids that wouldn't be quiet.
Holy
shit!
shit.
I was afraid that was gonna happen at the Mario movie. I was prepared. I was like, I swear to God, if I hear
when Wes goes to the theater, when Wes and I go to the theater, he likes to sit up in the very top corner, specifically.
I remember you telling me.
Specifically, the
What
top,
the hell is that?
the top right-hand corner, like just way off in the corner.
I've only ever done that one time, and it was very weird.
I mean, I get it if there's only like that seat available, and you're like, well, I want to watch it today. So
But it was really funny, yeah. I'm finding more and more people that we know do like that corner because Miharu likes that corner too, and I'm like, okay, it's not optimal for me, but whatever, I guess. But Wes and I were up there, and yeah, for Endgame, there were some kids that were like maybe 3, because he was like in that seat all the way hugging like the 2 walls, so I'm beside him on his left, and then 3 or so seats down from the left of me, there were there's a little family there, and these kids, they just will not shut the hell up.
that's like not only because discarding like just the viewpoint from that far back and at that angle. I mean, more often the people that know that they're going to probably be a little bit more rowdy tend to take that row because they're going to bother the least amount of people back there.
Yeah, I suppose. But then the sound travels, and you can still hear them from up there, even if you were sitting further down.
All I'm saying is they typically take that row. The people that are the most annoying.
That is true. But again, going back to like the general audience experience, besides that stuff, they usually don't get super like, whoa, yeah. They won't cheer when they'll just be like, you'll hear some people be like, whoa, 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 but like they won't. It won't be like this whole like group involvement thing.
It's not like crowd reactions.
I was gonna say it's not those videos on YouTube, those crowd reactions. I would love it if it were, but like when it's appropriate. But No, our theater's
No.
pretty boring when it comes to that.
I was actually surprised that that the whole theater room was packed. It wasn't packed at all. There was like people were sparingly in like different seats and whatnot.
I know. When
That actually did surprise me.
When we got first in, there was like almost no one in the room. I was like, whoa.
Which is why I was also wondering why the group or the family went like a row or two up above us.
By the time the movie started,
have all sat
by
together.
the time the movie started, there was a fair amount of people in the room. It just wasn't jam packed.
Yeah. I don't understand that, how people can be like, let's go to the movies. Let's get there like fucking 5 to 8 minutes when it's already started. And it's like, I get there like a half hour before the fucking previews start. So sometimes the screen isn't even like on yet.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that we're at least there, we're in our seats. And that was from the old school way of thinking. I have to say that. Because of before you had to pick your seats and all that shit. You could just go sit wherever. That would be why.
Because now they assign you seats and
You have to pick your seats and all that. And I was telling you also about how they're going to start doing that thing. I don't think for every theater, but they're at least going to kind of beta test it where it's like, oh, fucking, your, how much it's going to cost will more now depend on the seating than like...
I'm sure Wes will be happy
movie
because
you're
I'm
going.
gonna guess that corner is probably gonna be one of the cheapest spots.
I would assume so.
$3 to sit in the corner. Yeah, the more optimal seats, like where I like to sit, is going to be fucking apparently cheap. Or sorry, more expensive. The cheaper ones are the
Not
outer.
cheap.
Yeah. The cheaper ones are going to be like the outer, all the, like, right up in the front, way off on the sides, way off in the back, and that's just... But that's not the Mario movie. The Mario movie was fucking cool. Where would you like to go from here, Vic? Or I could throw in some of my notes if you want.
I mean,
Your phone
Kickstarter
notes.
conversation, I guess.
like from the beginning, when the movie starts, that was a big kicker for me because it just kind of just goes.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, okay, the intro was that first trailer when Bowser goes to the Ice Kingdom and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
the
gets
first.
the star.
It's almost. It was little small differences, but it was basically the exact same
Yeah.
scene.
It was basically the same scene with some added stuff and whatnot. But if there was one thing I actually really liked too, that I forgot to mention yesterday, was the transitions from scene to scene. Like certain parts, like transitioning from Bowser getting the star to showing Mario and Luigi's little commercial.
A lot of people
and whatnot.
called that too. They were hoping that after he was like, "Who's gonna stop me?" It just goes into the commercial, and it did. So some
yeah,
people,
that's
some
exactly
people
what it
called that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the obvious way to go, but it's not in any way like, offensive for how predictable it is. It was actually funny, if anything.
No, it was actually really cool. I liked it.
That's kind of a trope in and of itself. Like, the villain's gonna do this thing. Who can stop me? And then it goes to like
There's like the witty
the villain doing
something.
or the hero doing the response to that, but it's through editing. Like, it's a trope, but it's fine. Let's refer to the notes real quick. I only have a few, but they could kickstart some pretty interesting conversations. I guess the first thing I'll say is that nothing really overstayed its welcome in the sense that, like, what you would have thought and what people can still arguably say in the final film is the illuminationness of it, like the licensed music or Bowser letting out a little bit of his Jack Black in there so often or something. That kind of stuff didn't overstay its welcome. I feel like they utilized it just enough and then kind of let it dip so we can get back to the rest of the film.
You can tell that Nintendo had probably pretty heavy reins on, although it sounded like that was probably the case when it was in production. Because like I was kind of stating in the beginning, one of the big concerns of a lot of people was, is this going to be an Illumination movie with Nintendo sprinkled in, or is this going to be a Nintendo movie with Illumination sprinkled in? And that's what ended up happening, right? So
yeah. I actually read just today, from when we're recording this, an article where Jack Black apparently wasn't so sure there should be a Bowser singing little scene or anything like that at first, but that didn't really have to do with like the integrity of the film or the characters or anything. It was more so just because he does have his own music career, so it's not something he likes to sprinkle in and make all his characters do as like a Jack Black staple or anything like that. But after hearing the demo for it and hearing the comedy behind it and the fact that it does kind of give this duality of Bowser for what his role is in the movie, then he was on board with it. So that makes sense. And that's cool, actually. Even though it doesn't have to do with the Nintendo characters and keeping the whatever from the games or whatever, it is still cool that the actors treated it with respect and tried to,
Yeah, for sure.
It's just cool because even again, Chris Pratt had an interview a couple days before the film dropped.
I saw that, yeah.
And
wasn't it with
talking about, it was with Charlie Day talking
yeah,
about the voices.
it was the both of them, yeah.
And not that I remember everything he said about it, but he was obvious. Well, he was made aware ever since the fucking reactions and stuff to that Nintendo Direct went up for the cast list, and he was already aware that people were like not taking too kindly to it, and that's been one of the number one problems. Before people really saw the film, even with some of those fucking clips and stuff, like the Game Awards had that clip, people were still like, for as little as he talked, people were like, oh yeah, well, okay, but it looks amazing and the music's great, and it's like, okay, well, in the second podcast episode I said, yeah, y'all were a little sheltered because when it came to like Vic and I and others who, mainly even 80s kids, even before our generation, who had to grow up with Hotel Mario or fucking the 90s Mario movie or whatever, like, the cartoon.
Super Show and like Mario
yeah,
History.
there were a bunch of other, actors outside of the games and even in a couple of those weird one-off games that did a completely different. But that was before Mario had much of like
a personality of.
Well, no, his solidified identity. It was like the beginnings of it were there, but how he is now started with Charles Martinet in terms of the games, but we can't ignore that fucking little era there where, like, in the other things that weren't the games and one game, there was a weird otherly voice actor or actor who portrayed him in a completely different way, and that's kind of what they were trying to touch on here. I don't think necessarily for the reference of it as like a throwback, but for the, like we talked about in that last part, the celebrity casting and whatnot, like it just all kind of made sense to do it that way. I feel, but everyone was great, in the film.
That was the one thing I want to touch on is the character portrayals and how they handled them.
That was one of the biggest things that we were concerned about.
Yeah,
yeah, not a lot of people's concerns.
Yeah. But what
was,
we've talked about in the past, that was a huge one.
How it was like, how did you say it? If like, how much of the actor is going to be portrayed in the character, or was the character going to be a portrayal of the actor or something like that?
Yeah.
And I was actually surprisingly like amazed on how well Chris Pratt did Mario and how
it wasn't bad. It was never bad. From that first trailer that we talked about from the last one, I didn't have an issue with it.
Yeah, it took me a while to get used to it, but then once I really heard it more and like thought about it, I was like, it's fine.
Yeah, I just
wanted to hear more.
Once you got through like the beginning parts of like the intro, like it's always like when the character was introduced to you, you're kind of like, oh, we'll see. And then after a few minutes have gone by, you've seen more of them. They start talking more throughout the film. It kind of grows on you, and you're like, no, there's nothing wrong here,
And also, in a lot of ways, this being one of the first ones I'll mention now, this film was really smart in how it handled some of these things. I know people still have issue with them and whatever, but the film was smart in trying to ease you into these things aren't from the games, i.e. the cast. We first hear Mario in the movie as Chris Pratt doing the voice, the Mario, like the high-pitched Mario voice, and trying to mimic Charles Martinet's kind of Mario. But it was because they were putting on campy voices for the commercial, because there's there are little extended bits from the commercial that you don't see from the public one that's separate from the movie that you can go watch on YouTube right now. So in the movie, that commercial, after Bowser goes, "Who's gonna stop me?" cuts to the commercial. You see some of the scenes from what we saw already, but then you hear them do their spiel about their services and everything. And the voices they're doing, the voice Mario is doing is Chris Pratt doing the Mario voice.
Because then after that commercial ends and you see the both of them in the restaurant.
It was kind of a meta joke. They were like, okay, well, the accent's too much, and then we get Charles Martinet as Giuseppe or whatever being like, no, that was perfect. Wahoo! And I'm like, oh, I clapped at that. I was like, oh, there he is. That was awesome. I appreciated that he was wearing the original colors too.
Yeah.
The blue shirt and the red overalls. I was like, that's
Yeah.
fucking awesome. And the game he was playing was like a knockoff DK game, and it was called Jumpman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
I didn't
was
think
awesome.
about that much, but you're right. The way they played and that kind of that
Mm-hmm.
curve into
Yes.
is actually pretty well done. I agree. Yes.
Seeing Mario's family, and Luigi's family, that was fucking dope.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't around for much, but for what they
I would
were,
say they were not there for very long.
so people would probably, try to use that against the film, being like, well, that was a pointless scene. Like, well, no, because it shows that, well, first off, they're Italian. And like Mexicans, Italians have a large family. So, like, the fact that we got to see that and they don't just live on their own, like in the 93 movie or anything else that we've seen in the games, that was pretty cool. It wasn't quite necessary because their family isn't really established in the games, but to take the opportunity to show that was cool. And Charles Martinet was their dad, which I got spoiled on. Thanks, fucking Twitter. But I didn't. Just the fact that knowing that that's what it was, I was like, God damn it. Or was it IMDb? I can't remember.
It was IMDb. That's what you said. Because you barged in my room. You were like, you crossed your arms and you were like, I'm mad. And I was like, what happened? You were like,
I forget why I went on
"Fucking
IMDb
hell."
in general or at all. Like, I was doing it for another purpose. I was trying to look up someone's like roles or whatever, and I saw that shit and I'm like, God damn it. But that was cool. So it was cool that Charles got to do the Mario voice in the movie, even if it wasn't for Mario himself. But then also just got to do some characters. Like, I didn't even think... I legitimately thought Giuseppe was going to be the cameo and then nothing more. That's really what I thought. That there was going to be a character that he would do the voice for, and then we would never see him again. And it's almost that, but not quite, because he got to voice some members of the family.
Yeah, because
or at least the dad.
Because when I heard cameo characters, I was thinking of like other Nintendo characters or something or some other character you would have voiced that was like from a Nintendo game or something. But the way they did it was a smart way of doing it. So
They did it really cool.
I was like, oh, okay, then there he is.
Yeah, too. So again, on the topic of things not overstaying their welcome, definitely the licensed music was something I've been hearing people kind of groan about, and it's really funny.
Yeah, because that happened 3 or 4 times probably throughout
maybe
the whole film.
A couple.
It was like about
Because I think again there's a balance. I think the thing with this film is balance. And I think they've struck it with pretty much every aspect. Because with the music in particular, you can pick out, like Chips was saying, again, references go into like everything from certain characters and what they say or do to the music. Obviously, the visuals and all the visual Easter eggs. There's so fucking many.
Like I said, it's like
too.
one for like just almost pretty much every game.
Yeah,
It's
stuff outside of that.
There were some that I wasn't even sure if it was a reference. Like when they go to the people's home and it shows them trying to save the dog from out the window, and it shows the family there. The guy had a book that just said like the Odyssey or something, or like
no, that was in Mario's
Galaxy.
bedroom. Yeah. The Odyssey one was in Mario's bedroom.
Yeah.
No, remember, Odyssey is an actual book.
No, I know it is. I was just saying, like, I just wasn't sure if that was supposed to be.
I'm sure it was. I mean, Mario,
it's like Mario Odyssey
having Galaxy there as a word, it's probably a reference.
I mean,
I'll say this much: I was glad that they at least put a little bit of Galaxy music in there in the credits.
And a couple sound effects throughout the film as well.
Yeah.
But yeah. So while the score is fucking amazing and the references and stuff go deep into the score, the instrumentals and whatnot, the licensed music was cool because there weren't very many of them. They didn't overplay. Obviously, they're welcome. And what they chose, the selection, was more like kind of 80s stuff because obviously Mario started in the 80s, so that was cool. And I was saying this too while we were outside the theater afterward. I know some of these songs are overplayed. Take On Me was in there. Mr. Blue Sky was in there. Heard that in a bunch of other movies. But if you're gonna put something like that in a Mario movie at all, why not take from some of the catchiest, recognizable ones that people would know? I couldn't really see I couldn't really see any other songs being played in those moments that were licensed just for the sake of I haven't heard that song in a while in a movie. Welcome to the Jungle. Guns N' Roses could have played during the the Jungle Kingdom part when they're in the cart and where Take On Me plays. They could have probably put Welcome to the Jungle there, whatever, just to theme it a little bit better. But like, that's not even like a critique. I'm just saying they could have.
I always think back to when you said you were like, I don't want Bowser kicking
the door in and walking into Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
Well, instead we've got a Koopa Kiss band.
Yeah. That was funny. I thought that was a little
more
funny.
in line with Bowser, I guess.
The majority of the music, of course, was Mario related.
For sure.
And some Donkey Kong because they had the DK rap. Yeah, they had which was just straight up ripped. It was the song.
It was. They didn't even remake it for the movie. Like they just
version. There it is.
In the credits, it was like DK rap from DK64.
Yeah, that's what it said. I know.
That's it. That's all. No.
But yeah, mostly Mario music with a little bit of Donkey Kong because like I said, they went to the jungle and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
We should probably acknowledge the Kong in the room. So I just saw recently, right before we started recording, actually, that DVD pre-orders are already up, which is the fastest I've fucking seen that shit happen.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I'm hoping, and we said this last night. Seeing that though surprised me today. But hopefully the DVD release, or if they can in future theatrical releases, I don't know. Hopefully they can put Grant Kirkhope's name in there. I don't know why they didn't credit him.
Oh yeah, that's the one thing everyone
was saying justice for Grant.
Yeah.
Don't know why they skipped out on that, but hopefully I'm sure they'll do it. They credited Tails' voice actress for Sonic 2, so they're gonna on the poster. So they're gonna do it for Grant. Hopefully, I'm sure they will. But no. Besides that, no. The fucking movie was gorgeous to look at as well because some people were saying that reasonings for like the Mario movie being delayed since it was supposed to come out in December, and I think even Rise of Gru was supposed to come out on another release date, but then it might have gotten pushed. But with that was the last Illumination movie before this one, and I think I've been hearing that was because they were trying to improve their tech or they switched engines or something, or programs or whatever, and just looking at the comparison between fucking like Minions 2 and like Despicable Me 1 being like an almost 20-ish, like a little less obviously year gap between all of those movies, like it does show. But I think they wanted to make sure that Minions could kind of look good, so that way when they were doing the Mario movie, it would look really good, especially because it's way more like kind of fantasy based, and with all of Mario's worlds, you want them to look really nice and clean.
Because that's the thing is, they cover like they had visuals because they had so many different games that they pulled from and so many different Easter eggs and
plus things going on.
They had to. Now, that's a lot of things to include in every scene, basically, because like every scene was filled.
Yeah.
Right. But at no point did you ever look at a scene and went like, "This is over the top or too much," or like,
overwhelming.
You put stuff in just to put stuff in. You know, everything was very visually appealing, well done. It felt like Mario.
One thing I also really appreciate is what to focus on in certain things, so that way you're not just overly whelmed by everything.
Like
so it's
eye guiding, basically.
Yeah, like what they want you to focus on, what's in the foreground, and everything else in the background is like that's just the background. You don't have to look at it, but like we want you to focus on this. But it's not. But the background stuff's not so overwhelming to where you are looking at that and not what's going on, or anything like that. So it's like going through the village to get to Peach's castle. The entire time there wasn't a point where it's like you're just admiring like just the background, not seeing what they're doing or anything like that.
I get you. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on for that? I can go into another point if you want.
I covered most of it.
I do remember talking about how the pacing felt weird in certain parts.
That was a big one. I've been seeing that a lot.
I did say that was one of my like. We all pretty much agreed when we came out that it was like Marcel was saying it was like really good, but that was one of my complaints. Yeah, everything was just a little too fast. I think not everything, but certain parts of it were a little bit too fast.
Yeah, I thought about it a bit more afterwards, like before this, and I was thinking back on how everything played out, and I then came to my own conclusion that there was nothing that felt out of place, but I'm not sure. I might have to see it again to really like assure myself that nothing was too fast or anything.
Well, here's the thing too, the movie was only an hour and a half.
It's a short movie,
so the thing one of the things as we were watching it that I noticed, and it wasn't a pacing thing necessarily in the sense of everything feels like it's being rushed, but in setup, I was like, oh, so they focus on Brooklyn for like maybe the first like not even 8 minutes, and then we're boom into the Mushroom Kingdom.
Uh-huh.
And I thought that was cool because in movies where like, you know, there's a big focal point on a specific thing, whether it's like the Transformers and Transformers or whatever else, it kind of meanders, and the setup to get to them takes a while. So you're just watching like the live action human characters talk and do stupid shit that isn't funny, or like this or this, and just get to the main thing already. And even though, but that's not to, you know, say that the Brooklyn parts, which they're only the beginning and the end of the movie is Brooklyn, weren't interesting, because we were seeing again those references left and right, and just seeing the characters, or even so much as the background people as well, and how like cartoony they were. I thought that was good, because like I know a lot of people were like, oh, Odyssey is weird because the New Donk, you know, all the New Donk people are like realistic, you know, realistically proportioned humans, and that was supposed to be the joke about it, that this little cartoony ass Mario's right there, all fucking 3 feet tall with these guys that are like actually proportionate. But here, and one of the original concepts for New Donk was that everyone was supposed to look cartoony, so they kind of went with that for, you know, this. Obviously it works. So
yeah,
A lot of those characters were making fun of Mario and Luigi for being kind of on the short, stumpy side, actually.
That is true.
They were animated, but they were making fun of the fact that Mario is particularly small for a human, because like, even though even though all the other humans were still like, they still had that animated like round features, they were still a little bit taller and more proportional. I would say,
like Form and Spike.
One thing,
right.
That was one of the main ones. He was like just the bully of the movie for like 2 minutes.
It's kind of like the childhood bully or stuff like that.
But even seeing Mario's, again, their family, like it was cool to see that some of them had like big noses. They weren't huge like Mario's and Luigi's, but it was there, so you can see the traits that kind of fell down, and
also
that Mario and Luigi took.
Yeah, also showing their like unique like facial features and stuff.
Yeah,
and, like their like facial hair and whatnot for the guys. And
so that was cool. They made sure to kind of keep it in line with Nintendo's Mario character design, like philosophy, as it were. And that was cool to see. Like they really, now how much of it Miyamoto was like, here, I'll do a sketch so you can see, versus them, you know, the Illumination team being like, let's do it this way without any actual like push in that regard. Like, who knows, but it was still cool regardless.
Yeah, because like I said, with the Brooklyn parts, like none of them overstayed their welcome. None of them, they didn't try to like, the movie didn't do a thing where they go back and forth of like, this is what Mario's doing, let's see what the family's doing, and like where they think their children are, and all that stuff. Because they could have easily done that too, but they didn't. It was just like, here's Mario going on this adventure to save his brother and stuff like that. Like that was the main. It's
a very straightforward adventure, and the reason why I think it feels so short too, not just because of one of the things I'm going to get into in a minute and have us discuss, but also because it was so straightforward. They have the setup, they go in, and then the action just kind of starts. Because once they get split up, you're going between Luigi doing his own thing, getting captured, going back to Mario, going to the castle, get introduced to Peach, then it goes back to Luigi with Bowser, and Bowser finding out about the two of them, then it goes back to, you know, Mario training, and then it cuts back to Luigi, you know, going into the cage with all the other people, Lumali, and which thankfully didn't overstay his welcome either. He was probably the one that almost bordered on being shown a little too much. For the novelty of, I've got one mode, I've got a little kid voice, and I want to die. And that was his whole fucking thing.
He compared him to the ASDF muffin.
That's essentially what he was.
He's totally right.
Yeah, that is essentially what the Luma's whole purpose is.
In the same way that in the Despicable Me movies, the minions were kind of the ones that they would just shift back to, or they'd be the transition point from scene to scene. They'd be doing something stupid in the foreground, the camera will pan, and we'll see the characters then do their thing, and the plot will continue.
Yeah, because it's just supposed to...
They could have done that with him, and they were so close, but thankfully they only had him in like a few times.
So yeah, because he was supposed to be the comic relief of like, he just
for the most part
funny things, and you laugh.
You'll be seeing plushes of him in the near future.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I'll say that much.
But yeah, it wasn't like he was borderline annoying or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's not like everyone was like, oh, this guy.
Yeah, no one. I didn't hear anyone audibly groan or anything like that. Or
and it's like he didn't. It's like that. He wasn't like overtaking a scene or anything like that at all. Again, nothing overstayed its welcome when it was presented, because it was there, it had its time, and then it's like, okay, now back to the action and back to this. And that's why I really like the character portrayals too, because like, especially with how they handled Bowser, because like,
sure.
oh
Everyone
my
knows
god,
Bowser.
Because the way they did was like, he's like silly and whatnot, but like when he's serious, he's like,
that was what was cool.
He gets like when he gets pissed, dude. That part when he like
you already told me, yeah.
Yeah, it was
it's
like
when he knocks Mario back into the Punch-Out diner, and then he starts going after Luigi and Peach and them, and he roars, and that roar is like legitimately Bowser's in-game roar.
Yeah, it was
so
like
when he gets pissed, they kind of revert into his actual in-game voice. Or it could have been Jack Black doing it, and they just made it sound a lot like it.
Very much like
Either
it.
way,
Could have been.
It was fucking cool.
It was like, I love that, because it's like you see them like emoting and showing that emotion, and like it's so cool on how they handled it, and how it was just how they did it and how they did certain things.
What I was glad too is that the film didn't meander. There wasn't like too much or too many scenes of them not doing anything. People have been arguing that was kind of Luigi's whole shtick, which is, even we've kind of touched on it in the last one. Like, okay, well, Luigi's captured. So, and I don't even know if we actually don't know if we knew that by the time we did the second episode. But when we found that out, we were like, oh, okay, they're doing a role reversal. Peach is with Mario. Luigi gets kidnapped. Okay. So what's Luigi going to do for the whole movie? And that's something people are kind of taking issue with with the final film.
Yeah, because the middle portion of the film, Luigi there was a lot
just in the
less
cage.
Going on with him.
Yeah. And I've been hearing a lot of people be like, I want a Luigi's Mansion movie in this style because of when he first gets separated from Mario.
I was ready to hear. I was trying to listen to the music. I thought it was going to.
It was there.
Was it? Because I didn't hear it at first.
It does its own thing, but then later it kind of goes.
I thought they were going to do a shot where.
You could kind of hear it.
I thought they were gonna do a shot where they recreate it from the first game, where it pans down from the trees and it shows him walking through. That's what I thought they were gonna do, but they didn't. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, certain shots they do mimic, and there's only like a couple, mainly just the two. But the two serve to be kind of this like sort of callback to one another, or at least one's a callback to earlier in the film, where we saw in one of the TV spots or the trailer. It was actually, I think, the final trailer, where Mario and DK are going through.
Yeah,
and it's kind of nearing the first half of the final battle. And yeah, the camera goes through and it's a side scroller, and I was like, okay, but the movie does it a first time in the beginning, and they're just trying to get to that house.
Yeah.
And Mario slides down the little pole, and like, and you hear the
You
sound.
hear the sound. I know.
That was the other thing too.
The sound design was fucking immaculate.
Yeah, that was the one thing that we like super agreed on, is that the sound and the music was.
My lord, was the sound
really
design good.
Their use of the sound effects and the way they made the music
accurate.
Transition from one to another, it was so well done.
Really.
One of the little ones
really
I caught. One of the little ones I caught. Sorry. One of the little ones I caught, fucking Mario's running from the Toads in the castle trying to get to Peach, and he slides, and you're the, and I was like, that's fucking good.
Yeah.
It was the Mario 3 little skid sound. I was like, oh my god, like just little things like that they didn't have to do, and they did it.
Yeah, because one of the ones I really appreciated was when Mario and Luigi are going down to the bottom part, and like it says 1, 2, and the music you hear
changes to the underground theme. Yeah,
it was so good. I was like, oh my god.
But yeah, like I was saying, besides, Luigi's little bits here and there, like, we were even saying, so what could he do if he's going to be stuck in this cage almost the whole movie? And I think you were saying, Vic, like, oh, well, why didn't he, like, kind of, because he gets over his, scariness kind of by the end of, like, the actual, like, the second half of the final battle in Brooklyn. He kind of, snaps out of it a little bit, and then it's what we want to see, Mario and Luigi fighting Bowser. But even before that, you were saying, well, what if it would have been cool if, like, he kind of started to rally up the prisoners or something.
What I predicted, I believe it was a prediction that I made from the last one, was that I thought that Luigi was going to start, like, a riot of sorts of, like, trying to figure out a way to escape, helping everyone else escape, and getting them to where they were all going to team up and, like, take over, like, the castle or something. And, like, free themselves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or do something internally like that.
But I do see also what they were doing with them, too, because then we get what Bowser's goal is, which we didn't really know. See, I think what my prediction was from the last episode was like, okay, so it's going to start with Bowser taking Luigi, But then by the end of it, like, are we gonna revert to the status quo? Is he gonna take Peach later? And I thought there were gonna be more stars, and I'm actually gonna talk about that in a minute too. That Bowser was gonna go after throughout the movie. Turns out he just wants the one so he can impress Peach because he wants to marry her, which they just took straight from Odyssey.
Hell, they even gave him his.
They even gave both of them their Odyssey
Yeah,
wedding
they
outfits.
did. Yes, they did.
Because
Yeah.
I remember
That's the first thing I saw. I saw him put on his
when
hat.
Bowser,
I'm like, oh,
right as Bowser lifted the thing, I was like, there it is, right there. I was like, freaking
that meme.
Yeah, that meme. I was just like,
Pointing at the TV. There it is.
Yeah.
Even down to the piranha plant bouquet.
Yeah, the bouquet.
That was cool.
He smashed.
I thought it was really funny.
Huh?
How he just threw it and squished it.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was funny.
He was like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't give this to her.
Yeah, he wants to sacrifice them all for her, and obviously she's like, the fuck, man. But she said it just like that too. But they could get away with one of them. No, one F word. Could you imagine? That'd be the funniest shit if all of the fucking parents and kids are there, and Peach says "fuck" and they go,
Oh.
"Okay."
Oh.
The hell was that? But no, so like I was saying before, the film doesn't meander with those slow moments, and it's actually really good to have those slow moments, so it's not just action all the time. The pacing in that sense was really good. So you have the moment where Mario doesn't think he can do it. It's when Bowser kicks him back into that diner, and he sees the commercial, and that was really cool. He just needed that little boost of courage, and then. Because that was what the beginning of the film in Brooklyn was for, with Spike and all of them bullying them, being like, yeah, you're nothing, you're the stupid Mario Brothers. And I looked at Vic like, Miyamoto knows Richie. He's met him before. Could that possibly be a Rich Alvarez reference? But in any case,
I feel like that would be a bit of a stretch, but I mean,
still be fucking dope though.
I mean, yeah.
I actually want to see if Richie does have like a reaction to that or something. But that could be a whole episode we could talk about on our own. Fucking stupid Mario Brothers. We need to talk about that shit.
Yeah.
But in any case, so there's that. But then, So Spike being like, you're nothing and you're this and you guys are losers. So it's the zero to hero story, like I said before. With these guys, I didn't say it here in the podcast, but it's a zero to hero story, and it's cool to see. It's an origin story. But there's like moments like that with him having to like kind of get that courage back. Him with Peach, we saw snippets of it in some of the trailers. That was a cool moment. Even like Luigi, thinking back like because how they're always together. So Luigi just thinking back to some of the good old days, and we got to see Baby Mario and Baby Luigi.
Yeah, I thought that was so
Baby
cool.
Peach as well.
Baby Peach.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was just that again. It wasn't even so much of like, oh, here's another nugget for you to like fanboy over, but like it made sense in the context.
Yeah.
They found a way to kind of marry the references with the context, at least some of the references with the context, so you kind of get your little fanboy moment of oh shit, and then go okay, well it makes sense for the story to kind of give us this.
And I feel that more so with which power-ups they chose to show.
Oh,
like
for sure.
How they showed like how with Mario vs. DK they showed off the mini mushroom, they showed off the cat bell, which they didn't show it, but Mario turns into his cat form.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I thought them using those in the context of how they did it was really nice.
The fact the mini mushroom comes back around to defeat Bowser at the very end, or at least to keep him contained. Quite literally, and with a little jar. Yeah, no, but it's fucking solid. At this point, we're almost an hour in. If you haven't seen the movie, go fucking see it. It's just. Wait.
I was gonna say, like, I know I was gonna ask, like, what were your guys' favorite scenes? Because I know, like, I said,
Fucking
because
hell.
remember before, well, because I mean, or at least one of them, right? Because I was trying to say, like, I was telling them guys yesterday that for me it was when they were getting all of their. They were in the garage and they were prepping for their carts, right?
So the beginning of the Mario Kart scene,
that the sound, the way they visualized everything, actually building your cart like you were doing it in like Mario Kart, for example. It was just
with
super,
again the sound effects and everything. The exact sounds.
I don't know what that scene to me was just like this is so.
You hear the
cool.
music. The music. Someone I saw Rogers Base's video. That's the Mario Kart 8 music.
It is.
Yeah, it was.
I couldn't catch which one what they were going to choose from.
Yeah, it was 8.
Which
Mario Kart I was listening. I was like, okay, what were they using?
Which one?
And it was 8. And I think that's because also like they have like the hover mechanic there too, and like the paraglide.
Well, for sure.
Like
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool when when they go towards the throne room and the guy pull out the glider. I was like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Favorite scene though. I mean, the Mario Kart scene was the definite standout one. There was a poster around it. It was one of the biggest reveals from that second trailer. Oh God, what would be my favorite scene? I'm gonna have to circle back around to that, or else it's gonna be dead air for like 5 minutes.
You're like, let me contemplate for 5 minutes while I weigh the pros and cons of each scene.
Yeah. Well, we talk about nothing else and wait for me to think.
Because I'm also trying to think, and like it's really hard for me to choose. I just have like the majority of them are some of my favorites. Like ones I can think of is Mario vs. DK, because that whole fight was really
was cool.
I liked
them getting out of the eel was cool.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a barrel blast reference, the way they shot out of the eel's mouth. But
that's a Donkey Country reference.
I've been thinking it was more of a DKC reference.
It is because they have the barrel rides.
Yeah. But also barrel blast came kind of from that concept, so that's why my mind went to that. I'm like, if we're going with obscure shit, barrel blast, man, like. But that was a fun racing game. We should definitely play it on the channel as like a versus. That'd be cool. But so while we're circling back around, at least to my favorite scene, because I have to think about it. The other thing I was gonna say about the pacing too was, which people are starting to voice their opinions and not even concerns, but I guess critiques on, is that while it doesn't meander and stuff, and I think it paces itself in how the action and those slow moments kind of like play out. People are saying, well, it probably feels short because some of the stuff got kind of montaged or something, like we didn't get to see a whole lot of. They only go to so many places that it kind of leaves a little bit, I guess, to be desired in that sense.
I mean, if you were expecting him to go everywhere,
well, sure,
you're not going to fit that. I mean, again, the movie was a little short, which I think is one of the bigger complaints.
I think
even if they added an extra 20 or 30 minutes to the film, I think it still would have been really hard to fit everything that you could potentially fit in.
But I think too, like maybe instead of montaging some of those moments, I think this is because I didn't have a problem with it. I'm saying this based off what people are saying. I'm thinking what they probably wanted to see was instead of maybe montaging some of those moments. Like I saw Yoshi, I got excited for Yoshi. Yoshi was in one scene.
I was saying, yeah, dude, he was like barely there.
like the scene you see Yoshi, the shot I should say, you see Yoshi in from the second trailer.
Yeah,
that's all you get of him.
Yeah.
To the post credits. But anyway, before that, freaking. So I'm thinking what they probably wanted to see, those who were kind of bothered by it, the length and all that, and the pacing, is probably more action or at least more traveling. So like instead of montaging some of those places, maybe have a scene or two in there. Maybe show Baba on Battlefield a little bit, get a little bit more 64 nostalgia in there, or have some Toast Arena. Or something instead of just walking through it.
Maybe they could have just shown like things where like they're interacting with something within that kingdom or something. Like
and that's
maybe,
and that's kind of what I meant. That's what I say when I said like everything's a little too fast.
Kind of like how they're on the bridge and the cheese gets on Mario's face. Like they could have had that with some of the other ones. Like again, like
now I don't know if I somehow blacked that out during the movie. Was that scene even in the film?
Yeah, it was. It was.
Why don't I remember seeing it in the movie?
It was after Toast Arena.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Again, it was only for a brief moment.
Don't know why I don't remember
maybe you looked over for just the wrong second.
Maybe.
Chuckled at something.
Probably.
I was like, Yoshi, we're gonna... No, he's gone? Okay. And I was thinking about that. And then it happened and I didn't see
it.
Yeah. It didn't register.
Again, I don't remember where the Yoshi scene was
I remember
but
the
Chi-Chi part was in there, yeah.
Well, the Yoshi scene was in that montage.
No, I know. I'm saying... I'm forgetting where it
like
was.
It was on their way to the Congo Kingdom, I think, right?
Well, yeah. And I'm saying they montaged to get there, so you get... Literally, I think Victor's not remembering the order, but I think the order I remember was Bob on Battlefield, Toast Arena. I think it was Yoshi. Then it might have been the Cheep Cheeps.
It might have been.
But in any case, I don't know why I didn't remember seeing it in the movie.
No, I feel like they could have at least maybe had them do something within those places where like they're showing it's like they're on their journey, but they have like maybe a little funny thing that happens where like a bomb explodes or some shit.
Well, so you're saying an extension of the montage?
Yeah, a bit of an extension. Where
I think what people wanted to see maybe was like an extra scene or so of them with dialogue doing some shit in some of those places. Like maybe. It's kind of the Wreck-It Ralph effect where
like Mario picks up a bomb. What is this? Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that point he hadn't seen one yet. Yeah, you're right. But in any case,
They were in the little party scene. There was a little bomb that was walking around. Little ball.
I think it was kind of the Wreck-It Ralph effect, not just for the fact that people were comparing the preparing the carts in the Mario Kart segment to Sugar Rush, but Sugar Rush was already a Mario Kart kind of little like parody homage to begin with.
Yeah.
Where's it going with that?
About the transitions or the kingdom stuff.
No. I literally lost my train of thought. That's awesome.
I'm
you
sorry.
go.
I remember.
What the fuck is gonna bother me?
I know.
I had a point. I literally had a point.
I remember you said that one of your things was that you were hoping that they would have gone from kingdom to kingdom and stuff like that, or like. And
Well,
like,
yeah. Well, I mean, that might have also extended the movie a little bit more for people that were probably.
Because when they showed the map, when they were talking about the map and it formed,
Oh,
it was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and stuff like that.
Which was dope, by the way.
Yeah, it was cool the way they did it. But like what they showed on there, and even on the map on the paper when they were in the Kong Kingdom.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was the whole scope or if it was just in that region.
That general like vicinity of that.
Because it could have been, because some of the way they was structured was like in like when all the toads were around, it was like 8-bit looking, and then in the Kong Kingdom when they're looking on it, it was structured like Mario World, the way they had certain things.
Yeah.
But in terms of what they were showed there with those places, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm just not sure if it's the general vicinity of where they are, or if it's the whole scope of the world that they're in, or what. Because that's what I'm hoping that like with if they're doing a sequel, which I guess they are. I wonder what then.
Where else they're gonna go?
Yeah, where else are they gonna go? Like, what's the plot of that gonna be? Like, is Bowser gonna come back and do some shit?
Yeah, I was gonna say I want to know what the fucking who the villain's gonna be in the sequel. I had to go back and check. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, he apparently interrupted himself.
I interrupted myself. I think with so I now remember, since I had to look back at what I was gonna say, the Wreck-It Ralph effect. I think it's because people were expecting in that movie for them to hop from game to game to game to game, and they only did it like twice. So here, we were expecting them to go from kingdom to kingdom to kingdom to kingdom, and they only went to like one. And then back to the Mushroom Kingdom. So it was, again, although it was a very straightforward adventure, quite literally, they went to the one kingdom and then back. But I think that might be why. Because we didn't see too many locations. We saw references to locations, a montage of locations, but we didn't actually get to explore more. I initially didn't... Before we walked out of the theater and you guys were telling me about the pacing, that you guys... The little issue you guys were having about how it felt too fast, during the ride, didn't really feel like it was that short. The only thing that felt like it wasn't... Not rushed, but like that it was... just because it was just the setup was going from Brooklyn at the very beginning to the Mushroom Kingdom. I was like, oh, like I said, we're only about maybe 8 minutes in to Brooklyn, and then bam into the action with going and kicking the plot forward with Mushroom Kingdom stuff and all that.
It's funny because it's kind of reminiscent of the old Mario movie where they go from Brooklyn to like the Dinosaur Land or whatever the fuck they called it.
Dino Hatton. I'll have you know.
Whatever.
I haven't seen that film, and
we're gonna watch it.
Oh no.
We're gonna watch it.
But it's kind of like that, where it's like they're in the real world, then they go to the fantasy world, and they're there
back.
for like the majority of the movie, and then they come back.
If that is a deep-rooted reference, and there's our '93 film reference, I'm okay with that. That's actually kind of funny.
In this context, it works because
it does.
Because like the way everything played out. The way they
framed it,
the way they did the story, and how they made it progress throughout, going from one place to another, then back, it works. Like they did it well. They did it to where like it fit in everything. Because then when the Bonsai Bill blows up, it's like, okay, that kick-started them.
Bowser's nuke
for everything to come in from that from the Mushroom Kingdom into Brooklyn. And then that's where they have their final fight.
I found out through TV tropes, because they updated the page, that he called it a booster bill or something like that.
Booster bill.
But it's a bonsai bill.
Yeah.
From the games.
Like if you know what it is, and it's
literally from Mario World. Yeah. Introduced in Mario World. But
I thought it was funny on how like
it is essentially a nuke. You're right.
I like how
even the way they framed it, how it went up and then down. I was like, dude, it is a long range nuke.
Like, it was just like, oh, launch it and destroy the fucking kingdom.
Yes.
Just straight up, just destroy it.
What I thought they were going to do with that, when he's planning to have it go through the pipe, I thought he was going to have it blow up by hitting that part, because it's kind of away from everything and away from the kingdom itself. So I thought he was going to have it blow up their only way back home, and then they'd be stuck there, and that was going to be the end of the movie. But I wasn't expecting everything to get warped into Brooklyn. That was fucking nuts.
Yeah. But it's cool, because it's
well, of course it was cool.
Because then that's where they showed that, like, everyone in Brooklyn now acknowledges them as heroes and stuff like that, because they defeated the evil turtle.
The only question I had about that is, because everything got warped in and the portal, the pipe got destroyed, how did everything go back?
Okay, but first you'll have to unlock your device.
Oh.
That's how.
That's how.
You have to unlock your device to find out, Chase. We're keeping that in.
It's locked. That's why they couldn't get in. It was locked.
Well, I was gonna say maybe it didn't. Maybe they have to open. They'll open the next one. Maybe they'll have to open the next one. Maybe they'll open the next movie with them cleaning up or something. If it takes place directly after.
Since
Which
it
probably
shows,
will.
Since the ending shows Mario and Luigi already being in the Mushroom Kingdom, and like they have their stuff there.
They found
it's
a way
probably,
back somehow.
I'd say it's probably going to show. I would say if the start of a second one would be like showing how everything went back and how they chose to go back to the Mushroom Kingdom and stay there and stuff like that. Because in the real world, like again, that post credit scene with the Yoshi egg, it's like how was that just there and like not picked up with everything?
Well, it probably came in with everything.
I know, but I'm saying like why didn't it go back? Like, was there were there still like some debris from stuff that wasn't?
No, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm saying if they open, they're probably going to open, if they decide to have the sequel take place directly after this one, it'll probably open with them explaining that. Okay, well, here's how we got back to the Mushroom Kingdom, and we can jump whenever we want back from Brooklyn to here, but we have to go back over to clean up all the stuff from the battle, because they did a lot of fucking collateral damage. It was like a superhero movie at that point.
Oh yeah, Brooklyn was not in too good of shape after that.
They had a fucking flood like right before they went down, and like fucking they have that final battle and stuff like that.
In terms of the fighting, what I love that Nintendo, thank God for Smash Brothers existing, because I'm sure Nintendo probably did this through their teeth, but they let them actually fucking fight each other. Like Bowser just like kicks the shit out of Mario and he goes flying through a fucking car windshield, like he hits a car windshield, and he gets bruised up, and like when he scratches DK, you see there's not blood, but you see the marks,
see the scratch marks and stuff.
And it's
like
like,
that,
shit, people are getting fucked up in this movie. There's a body count here.
Yeah, like especially the part when DK punches Mario up in the air, you can feel like when he goes boom, like you feel that impact.
But two references and whatnot down to the animations and stuff as well. Again, the movie did it cleverly, because whenever there was a fight involved, that's when the Smash Brothers stuff would come in. Mario's like striking pose like that came from the poster or the cover of Ultimate. I think they did like an up smash or something on him when that uppercut happened.
They did.
He does the down. He does his side B when he's training.
When during the training course,
that was fucking dope. Whenever there was fighting involved, that's when the Smash stuff came out. They didn't just go, here's a logo. Here's like, Master Hand for no reason.
No, yeah, they incorporated a lot of the actual combat moves that those characters have into the fighting
awesome.
scene. Not every single move, but a lot of them, right?
Where it was appropriate.
Yeah, exactly.
Even including like iconic poses and stuff too, like in certain parts, like when they're flying through the air and they do their little thingy like that. Like,
the fist pump in the air,
or
classic jump
at the
pose.
end when they're fighting Bowser. They grab his tail and spin him around. Right?
Yeah,
that was really cool too.
Yeah,
they had to do it. It's like it was just it was handled so fucking well. Yeah. What else? We legitimately came out of the theater and we were like, okay, what part did you not like? And we were like, I can't think of anything. Like I legitimately can't think of a scene, a character, a moment that made me go, okay. That wasn't really necessary. Like, no, not really.
No. I said it when we got out of the theater.
The only thing that boarded it was Lumali. That was it. That was literally it.
Yeah. Yep. And again,
because he even showed up during like before the credits rolled, and he had no reason to be there. But that was it.
Yeah. It was just, like I said, it's just if they just, yeah, exactly. As I said, is like there's not really a scene where you're like that didn't fit, or nothing felt out of place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The only thing at the end you'd just be like. just maybe fill out a couple little things here and there, but that's it. So instead of being in a position where like that needs to be cut out, you're like, I want them to add a little bit more there.
More in.
Yeah, exactly.
I would like to see
Correct.
more of this. I would like to see more of this and that. And like
Correct. Which is
that's really all it
which is a much better problem to have.
Oh, for sure.
Having your audience want to see more is where I feel like that's the strongest point you can have, is like leaving them to want more, because then you can start incorporating other stuff in there too.
No.
And it's like it was such a very weird thing for me to be like, there was this problem and there was this problem. Like, usually I point out certain things where I'm like, oh yeah, like this thing could have been changed, or maybe that could have been a bit shortened or a bit lengthier. But with how everything played out, it was like there was nothing really. Like, maybe certain parts could have been lengthened, but that's really it. Like, other than that, there was nothing really to critique or whatever.
You saying leave them wanting more is also kind of... It transitions nicely into what I was going to talk about next, which is something that could be looked at as an issue, but it depends on how you see it. Was this... we were talking about this in the car afterward. Was this a setup movie? Not just for like this grand thing they want to do later with movies and stuff, and Marvel it, but what I mean is how much in this movie, content-wise, from things they bring up or kind of start and leave, was that intentional or not? For a sequel or for something else. Peach gets a backstory. Kind of. We see baby Peach, like you mentioned, Chase. But it's more of, well, she stepped in the portal one day, and then the Toads
Alice in
raised
Wonderland her way into
but that's the
Kingdom.
only time they ever bring it up. She doesn't even see... She doesn't see anything she recognizes in Brooklyn. She doesn't get recognized herself by anybody.
In the film, she's like... She sees Mario like, wait, you're a human.
Besides that, though, when they're in Brooklyn...
But the thing is that, like... At the same time, that's where it's like she grew up in, she might have been a human, but she grew up in the Mushroom Kingdom, so like she only saw what was there. She didn't really see everything that was in Brooklyn.
For sure. Because it seems like the film,
because throughout the movie, she asks Mario like, oh,
these things in his world or whatever.
Yeah. Like, do you have this in your world? And it's like,
but at the same time, I mean, that's been even in the games a long-standing thing with Peach. It's like, okay, how is she the only human in the Mushroom Kingdom? Like, how did she get there? And even this movie. This is a movie that showed Mario's fucking family. So, like, for us to be like, oh, yeah, what would Mario's family look like in the games? But the movie answered that. Well, they never answered where Peach came from. So, will that be elaborated on?
Yeah, all we know is that she came from the human world, but we don't know anything else.
Yeah, who she was beforehand. They just kind of made her royalty in the Mushroom Kingdom. But
they're like, you're a human. You're our princess.
Does she come from? But does she come from anything significant? Yeah, right. But does she come from anything significant in the human world? Like, who were her parents? And if they showed Mario's and Luigi's, they could show hers.
Did she come through the same pipe? Are there more pipes? You don't know.
Well, the one that showed her coming out was a different one. So I mean, there's
more.
It
probably
so
is a different one.
There's more pipes and stuff like that. They even showed the network stuff, like how Luigi were going through. So
how much more did I ask or tell you about? Or ponder when we were in the car about what I can't even talk. What other things did I say felt like setup that didn't really get kind of resolved?
Really?
Peach's thing was one of them. I feel like there was something else besides the obvious post credits with Yoshi. That's obviously set up, but I feel like there were at least a couple of, if I can think of them, cool. If not, sorry.
I think it was just those two things, really, because that's all I can think of.
I'm just hoping that, I'm just thinking that they maybe we'll dive into it in another one. I'm not really sure.
I honestly think it might be a setup movie because I feel like this was kind of like the testing grounds, like dipping their toes in the waters of like making like movies of their own characters.
Well, no, for sure.
So I feel like this was like a setup to for something.
Well, here's
I'm
the thing.
Not sure what, but it
here's the thing.
Something.
They already acknowledged that something just came out recently that they already acknowledged that Nintendo Illumination, when they start drawing up an actual plan of whatever else they're gonna do next, they will be doing it. So and again, how the movie ended with those credit scenes, we're gonna be getting more.
Yeah. So now it's just a matter of how good is the box office going to be, and because I don't know what their budget was for the film.
I heard that on opening day, the movie made like 60-something million dollars.
Oh, I thought it was 86.
Or it was
something
something like
like
that. It was some high number.
It's projected to be like
It
100 and some odd million.
Yeah,
for this weekend.
Because it started with like 30-something million, and then it shot up more.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my god, like, yeah.
To put it in perspective, opening day for the U.S. in terms of video game adaptations, it was the highest grossing one.
No,
I mean,
that's
hell,
not surprising.
hell, the movie's already breaking records and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
that was one of them.
And it was like, it was like,
You know why? Because now we're gonna get into the next topic. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, it's up there with fucking Endgame for being like the
For sure. Oh
like,
yeah,
like the most anticipated movie, like animated film, the most like anticipated video game film, and stuff like that. And like it was like I think it's like just under Endgame of like audience, like the how many people have gone to see the movie and stuff like that.
You know why? How it did as an adaptation. Because people have been saying, okay, it's a good Mario movie, but it's a meh movie.
And
I'm like
we said,
I don't agree with that.
If we talk Chase, as I was bringing it up kind of near the beginning, there are reviews out, and you'll find very quickly that there's a pretty big divide. Like I personally went to Metacritic, and they had it split between user reviews and critic reviews, right?
Yeah.
And this may have changed, but when I saw it at the time, there was a user score of 87, and the user score for critics was like a 46, right? And
it was like 40 to 90 from what I saw.
Yeah, which makes sense based on what I just saw, right? And so basically, people who who are fans of Mario and Nintendo and went to see the film, for the most part, genuinely enjoyed it. And then, and so there was a divide with people with some of the more traditional critics. And like I was saying, is Marcelo doesn't agree with that. I can kind of see that, just because the movie had so much like
writing
Easter
on it,
eggs
really.
and things built in that, like I was saying earlier, like there's so many things they pull from like all the different games. And so there's a lot you would like, not and story wise and stuff. No, I mean you could totally understand how everything goes without having any knowledge of Mario, but you would miss so much of the little specialties, right?
But that's where I think that people are wrong by saying it's just a meh general movie. Like taking out the fact that it's from a video game, it's Mario. If it's just this little dude and his brother from Brooklyn go to another world where it's all this fantastical shit, and there's a bad guy who wants, a princess's hand in love, and he wants to stop it because obviously he's a bad guy. Not only is that probably a trope somewhere, and most likely, but you at least get it, from like the general storytelling perspective, which is what the games are already known for doing.
I'll say that's
having simple plots.
So it's like the general structure, or like that's the most basic structure you can do. Like how you say, like how it's a zero to hero story, one, but two, when you look at how the movie's structured out, there's plot points and so like there's points at like throughout it where it's like what's going on, because like it's like like I was saying, like they're in Brooklyn, they're doing their thing. Something happens, then they go to this other world. Now it's become like a rescue story where it's like now it's Mario and whoever else going to save Luigi.
Because here's the thing too, it doesn't have very many side plots or even much of a B plot. Luigi would be the B plot, but I consider that more of an A.5 plot because it ties back into the main story later, and it doesn't really, admittedly, it doesn't really go anywhere for a while. It just kind of cuts back to see that, okay, he's still alive at the very least.
The first third of the movie, Luigi is...
It's a very straightforward thing.
It's just as much in there as Mario, and at the end, that's true. But yeah, that middle portion is really where...
But it makes sense, too, but from that perspective, too, of, I'm looking for someone, can you help me? I mean, and then we're on our way... I was going to make a weird comparison, but I don't even think... First off, I don't know enough to actually be confident in this comparison, but also I don't even know if that would work. It'd be weird. It's like what if Luke and Leia knew each other in A New Hope, but then they got split up, but then she left a message that he found, and then they kind of converge back later. That would be weird. Plus, I shouldn't start Star Wars shit because people are going to get mad. But, but like... because the movie starts that way, like, oh, who's this? I'm looking for someone. Let's go find them, and then that's what they do, sort of. But with this, it's like I don't know if this is all just a ditch effort to kind of not do the Peach gets kidnapped thing because we're trying to do the whole, like, empowering women thing right now. Like, I'm not sure why they decided not to do the status quo and do a straightforward Mario plot in that sense.
That being said, she's not, I mean, there's the Super Princess Peach game where, I mean,
that's true.
It's not, there are instances where she's not in that position.
Oh, no, for sure. And this is and that was a fucking issue people had that pissed me off, is that they were like, "Well, this movie's woke because Peach is a girl boss in this movie." And it's like, shut the fuck up. We've got Smash Brothers, we have Super Princess Peach, but also I just realized the '93 Mario movie did that. We met Daisy, and she kind of, had a little bit with Luigi, and they were kind of a thing, and then she gets kidnapped, and then they're split, and then there's the B plot where she's like finding all this shit out about what Koopa's plans are, and she meets Yoshi.
Then
they come back at the end.
That could totally
be.
So
it's kind of like that.
That could totally be a follow-up film too, right? Because now you're stuck. Now they introduce Peach, and we pretty much know that she's the only, right? Mario and Peach, and you can totally see where Luigi's like, well, damn it.
If there's one thing I actually really liked was, like, talking about, like, how the film doesn't meander and stuff. I like that they didn't try to make Mario and Peach a thing in that sense. Like, they had a moment. Moments. They had a few moments, but they didn't linger on it. They didn't.
And they were tiny too. Like,
yeah, they were very small, very subtle.
But
it's
was,
like,
it was still there. The second one was cute because you got DK and Toad just kind of messing with them, and they're just having their moment. And then it's like it doesn't overstay. It's welcome. It just kind of resolves quickly. And it felt natural. Because DK is just like, I'm messing with you. And then they just go back to, like,
Yeah, and they start driving. They go back to doing their thing.
The one thing I was surprised about that I was predicting from the beginning of the film was that the movie was going to end with either Mario getting a kiss on the nose or with cake. And neither of those happened.
But I like it was like that because it didn't feel like it was a very, like, campy, tropey thing. It was just like they're just going on an adventure. Like, they're just going to save Mario's brother.
And too, because that would just add another element that, like, I mean, yes, we all know is a thing in the games, but for this kind of a story, since it's sort of a remix of the Mario formula, we didn't really need. To have hints to it is, of course, not to say you have to throw that in, and find a way to, like, because it wasn't shoehorned, but find a way to add it in, whether it's even by reference of these guys, these other outwardly characters, making fun of them for it, and kind of teasing them or whatever, or having the moment where they first meet. I mean, not saying that was required, a prerequisite or whatever, but, like, no, like, I think it was natural, and it didn't overstay its welcome, like we've been saying. I think it was good. Because it was well handled.
Yeah, that was also one of the concerns I had was, like, how are they going to handle that whole thing of Mario and Peach and stuff like that. And they did it well enough to where it's like they don't focus on it. It's not a focal point of the movie or anything like that. Like, and they don't make it to where they make a whole bunch of, like, jokes and whatnot.
Thank God, certain tropes, like in storytelling, no third act breakup. Thank fucking God. That we didn't have some, like, mopey dopey shit.
Yes,
a lot of movies do that.
Play another licensed song over it. More montages of them being sad. One of them comes to the realization, oh wait, but shit's going down. Hold on, I can't mope and dope. I gotta go save them. We just get the little bit of encouragement when Mario gets knocked out a little bit, gets beaten around a little bit, and it doesn't overstay. It's welcome. I'm sorry that I'm a broken record, but, like, it was well paced in that regard. The tropes weren't so heavy in this movie.
Yeah, because they could have very easily done that.
They could have very easily done that.
There were so many moments where they could have very easily, like, incorporated some kind of trope or something like that, and even if they did, they didn't linger on it. They didn't make it a focal point to focus on those things because it's stuff that you would recognize easily or anything like that. It's not something that you would just be like, oh hey, there's that trope right there, and like, it doesn't bore you or anything like that.
Well, even us finding out that Bowser's doing all this because he loves Peach, they balance that out well between him being threatening and still wanting to destroy the kingdom for it, but still wanting to take her, not to kidnap her, but to take her hand in marriage. And then all those minions are like, dude, what the fuck? Like, that was fucking funny. And they found a way to balance it out of, okay, well, this is his motivation.
Well, it was funny
and
because
he's lonely.
yeah,
And that was something Jet Black said in another interview. He said, well, about the duality. Well, there is something interesting about he's not just wanting to destroy shit for the sake of destroying shit. He just wants love. And that is Bowser's
I mean, he
theme
also
in-
wants to rule the world.
That is true, too.
I say that's basically Bowser's.
He wants to do both.
That's Bowser's character, though. That's
Yeah.
the thing. In all of the Mario games, that's basically
Bowser.
Bowser. He wants Peach, but he wants to also destroy shit.
Because Odyssey
and
wasn't even the
whatnot,
only
like
game
with
to
her
do
and
that. Super Paper Mario dove a little bit into that.
Yeah,
So,
no,
I mean,
that's a normal Bowser thing.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's where
To
that's
be
where I
able to
felt
incorporate both was really cool.
yeah, that's where I felt the portrayals of how the actors did and stuff like that. That's where I really appreciated it
But how
because
they wrote the characters, too. Of writing his minions to be like, instead of, yeah, let's do it, like, off the bat, they were like,
yeah,
why?
what?
Like, are
Yeah,
you just powering
they-
your own
I
fantasies
was saying,
here? Like,
they
what
were-
are we going to get out of
So
it?
yeah, they were excited. They're like, wait.
But he says, well, by doing this, then we get the Mushroom Kingdom, and then we're going to start taking everything over. And they go, okay, and then then they're on board. Like, that was cool.
yeah,
But again, I got some notes here. Just the way it was as an adaptation, and this is what I've been fighting. Hey, kids, here, word of advice. Listen to your parents and don't talk to strangers online because I'm getting bullied over here, and I don't know what's going on here, but, like, I'm trying... Okay, so I made a very, like, straightforward post where when we came back, I'm like, this movie did it. It broke the video game curse.
I did
And
too.
people were like, yeah, but what about, like, Detective Pikachu and the Sonic movies? I'm like, don't even get me started on that. No. And, like, but here's the reason why. Because I did a video on Destination Mark. First off, I did a video years ago being like, can video game films be done right? And this was way before any Mario movie Illumination shit was
I
happening.
haven't seen the Sonic films or Detective Pikachu either.
Detective Pikachu was actually okay.
I heard
for
of
what
that
it was
one's actually
worth.
not bad.
It wasn't that bad. The Sonic movies I had to watch for my so I did a video called "Can Video Game Films Be Done Right?" It was a discussion video I made back in 2015. Then I got the idea this year for my Destination Mark channel to revamp some of those older videos. So that was the first one with the Mario movie and all that in mind that I decided to redo because I watched Uncharted, thought that was pretty okay. I had to watch the Sonic movies for that video. And I don't think they're good. I'm sorry. You're going to have to kind of deal with it. But, like...
Tell us how you really feel.
Oh, trust me. I could if you really want me to.
I'll say yeah. I
But
could,
we're not doing that in this
I
podcast.
could too, but yeah, I know.
He watched the second one. He watched both of them with me.
I watched both of them. I also didn't like them.
And he's the bigger Sonic fan of the two of us. But in any case, what makes this movie work and why I personally feel that this movie broke the video game movie curse is because one of the things here, I'll just read it word for word. Despite being an origin story, all of the game references aren't meant to be a direct play-by-play from the games, but they're meant to encompass the games.
Yes.
They're meant to be this love letter, and they just kind of heighten, for like how you were saying, Chase, those who know them to understand them. Not just for, hey, look in the background, there's Mr. Game & Watch, which there was on that truck, but like...
Also, when they were going through the construction sites, like there were
Yeah.
little signs with Mr. Game & Watch
Yeah,
games
yeah.
on there.
There were signs,
Yeah.
there was,
On Spike's thingy
Duck
on the
Hunt and
shirt
stuff.
that it said Wrecking Crew on it.
Wrecking,
and
well,
stuff
obviously,
like that.
yeah. So, like...
They had the freaking pictures of all the Punch-Out
Characters.
and stuff like that. The whole building is a Punch-Out reference because that's
Yeah.
on the name of it.
But like I said before, with the Baby Mario and Luigi bits, the Baby Peach bits, like those specific moments and some other ones too serve not just to be a reference to something. Mario and DK getting swallowed by the eel is the eel from 64, but like it's not just because, hey, remember the eel? We have to always have an eel.
Or the fact of how they did Mario and DK's interactions, where it's like they used to be rivals or whatever,
And now
like,
they're friends.
now they're
And
friends and whatnot. But the thing is that
It works for the film.
They didn't do it to where it's like, hey, they have a rivalry now.
Yeah.
They're butting heads now. Like they don't do that. Like they do in certain parts, but it's not focused on. It's not a focal point.
It's
not
actually
something that
really
lingers on.
It's really, and that even goes to how Cranky Kong was written for this one, because he wants his son to stay focused, and he kind of thinks he's a little bit of a joke, but then even Mario's dad at the beginning was like, you know, you need to buck up, dude, and like, so they're both trying to please their fathers, and when they're in the stomach of the eel, that's what they bond over.
Yeah.
And it's not just, and I know it sounds like it's not from the games, which it isn't, but like, it serviced the story. It serviced the movie overall.
Yeah, and like you're saying, they didn't play
And it wasn't
overplay
that
into like
out
a
of the
trope.
way.
It was just like,
Yeah.
you know, it was a very short scene. That was probably the mopiest scene in the show, besides maybe the very beginning when
pretty much
they get kind of bullied out of the room
by
their own family.
Because they're just kind of there blaming each other, but then they're like, oh well, now we're gonna surface our problems of like our fathers and whatnot.
But these little weird
but
moments.
they don't mope about it too much to where it discourages them. Or
they
anything.
basically just go, "We're upset," and we move on.
We're upset. Idea rocket.
Yeah, correct.
Well, because but
Yeah.
they paced it better, you know. Well, than that, but I mean, you know, but yeah, no, they paced
But
it
it was
well.
quick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
paced it
yeah.
in a way to where it wasn't just.
We're
too-
mad all of a sudden, rocket.
I was gonna say
like they made it this huge emotional scene, and
yeah. It's
It
not
goes
like
on for too long, and they
it's
just
not
like- correct.
Yeah.
My backstory, DK says, when I was raised as a little Kong, and that could have served to be another reference. That could have served to be another reference, because if they did a flashback to DK, then Cranky could have looked like Donkey Kong arcade game DK. 'Cause that's who he's supposed to be.
I was saying DK could have been baby DK.
Yeah, they could have done more references, but they knew what they wanted to do. They had a focus, and that...
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like what they chose to reference,
Yes.
what to make a reference, what to use to advance the plot further. That also doubles as a reference.
So
is done well.
This is where I feel the Mario movie does it better. Doesn't mean it's a better movie, before people start yelling at me again, than the Sonic ones or Detective Pikachu or fucking whatever else. Is that the Mario movie found a really fucking good balance between how they did how they focused, like what their focus was, and the balance. It was focus and balance. Those were the two things. They, knew what to reference and where to make it fan service, and then where to service the plot. And for what little illumination bits were in there, how we were saying at the beginning of the podcast, it didn't really distract from anything. If anything, it kind of like just went along with it. Like it kind of I forgot the word I was looking for, but like complimented, you know, the movie.
Some of it,
the rest of the
I was
beats
like,
of everything.
Some of it complemented the humor of the movie, because
I mean, yeah.
they didn't do too much to where it was in your face jokes and meta jokes and whatever other kind of tropey jokes that you could have made, that Illumination could have made. But there was still that humor there where it's like you could laugh at this part, because it's like it's kind of like slapstick comedy, where like shit happens to a character and whatnot. And it's like how like in the trailers and stuff, how Mario like is
The pipes
watching,
and all that.
Yeah, but also how like when Mario fights DK and he launches himself at DK and he just grabs him out
Yeah,
of the air
yeah.
and starts beating him. Like that's a funny part, and like how Mario reacts to the items and stuff like that, like the power ups and whatnot. Like
I think execution too.
yeah, watching
Throw
DK
that in there.
just flick little tiny Mario.
yeah, even that too. Like you can get a laugh out of it.
So there's actually more than I'm thinking of. Okay, so we got what I just said right now. It was focus. It was balance. What was the third one I just fucking had in my head? Can't remember it.
He interrupted himself again.
Probably. Or just the accuracy of it. Literally adapting the game into the movie. And they like kind of remix that concept into something that you're not like, well, where's the controller? You know?
Because if you think about how the movie's structured, it's basically like the movie of Super Mario Brothers on the NES,
but not even
remix.
But not even that. I'm talking about like the nitty gritty shit. The fact that the power ups are in there. Not only do they sound and look and act the way they do in the games, the very concept. Peach explains it to him when they're training. This is a power up. What does it do? Well, if it's a mushroom, you can eat it. If it's a flower, you do whatever. You just break it into your hands and you can get the essence of it. And
if you get hit,
you lose it. Like.
Yeah,
that's the game.
Because getting to see them power up, then power down
multiple times through everyone.
Times, it shows that that's how it works. Like
it's just a part of the world.
Yeah,
because that's what it is in the games, and that's the thing that no one else really got right. What do Sonic's rings do? They teleport him. Like what? And that's even just like one thing, but what? Like the accuracy. The focus, the balance between what could be humorous and act as a reference on top of being funny, or what's there to just make the kids laugh because haha, funny Fortnite dance, funny fucking dabbing yo and YOLO and shit. Movies do that. You laugh, but watch the
wrong.
fucking Sonic movies.
You're not wrong. Like I said, I haven't seen those films, but It's not even just video game. Just
you've seen enough to know.
and
They do that.
movies like that in general do that.
Yeah.
Shit. Like they're
Yeah.
just like,
And that-
this is a hip thing to do.
That's-
and that's probably the mindset.
and-
Hip.
and
Because they
that
don't get it.
that's why when this was announced for the first time, and we
We
were all
did
heard,
get a little afraid
I
for
was
how it's
afraid
going to be
because-
portrayed.
Exactly, like the portrayal of just the movie in general. That's what I was afraid of. I was afraid
Mainly-
of all these.
Yeah,
mainly-
totally
mainly not
understandably
because-
so, because these movies have a pretty bad track record up until now.
Yeah, no. Mainly,
Exactly.
yeah. Not because Illumination was going to probably do it, but because Nintendo would have okayed it. Like,
Yeah,
that was why
yeah,
we were a little
exactly.
nervous. But
Like, what were they gonna?
like
what would they have
despite
allowed?
despite learning that Nintendo was in on it with them with Illumination, the fact they have to okay everything.
It was just
Hey,
what would they approve?
Nintendo okayed Luigi dabbing in Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. So that's where I was like, how much is Nintendo gonna be like, hey, what's hip with the
Yeah,
kids?
yeah,
Because they
like-
don't usually do that in their own stuff.
I was gonna say how
but
much.
when it's them,
That's where it led to the question of how much Nintendo influence is going to be
Yes,
and how
yes.
much Illumination influence is
Exactly.
There gonna be. Like, what's the
there was
balance?
a fine balance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was probably like 80-20. Nintendo 80.
Yeah.
Illumination
perfectly
20.
balanced as all things should be.
You
That's
love to
essentially
reference that.
that's essentially what this movie was. It was a perfect balance of everything, from the music to the sound effects to the plot to the structure to the humor. Everything had a balance to it, and
Exactly.
nothing felt off. Nothing felt like it was out of place. Nothing felt like it was there for the sake of it being there.
Everything
was
had a purpose.
Yeah.
everything had a purpose to it, and everything had something going on in there. Even if it was as basic as showing Luigi in the cage, there was still something going on there.
Yeah.
There was still something to where you could kind of get a little laugh out of it from the Luma and whatnot, or whatever. Like some of the interactions and stuff like that. Like, you get something there, and it doesn't leave you hanging, and it doesn't leave you lost. It doesn't leave you unfocused on what's happening. It doesn't leave you
Confused.
trying to catch up on what's
Yeah.
going on, or confused. It's a perfect
You're not
blend.
you're not really overwhelmed, but you're also not underwhelmed.
Exactly, yeah.
Like-
you're just whelmed.
I have been whelmed by the Mario movie.
Put that on Metacritic.
And that's why I said yesterday when we got out that I said this was the video game film adaptation I've been waiting for. This
Exactly.
is something.
Same.
This is something that I was hoping the Mario movie would have been when we first heard about it, and now that we have how it is, it quenched my fucking, like, it put out my freaking fears, and it's like, the entire time I was saying, I wasn't even thinking about what I was fearing, because the way they
Like waiting to see someone come up or hear a voice
the
actor
way
or
they
something.
pull you in with certain
Yeah.
things.
You're
it's
just in
like,
there.
You kind of feel like if you weren't like just like stretched out or anything, you'd probably be on the edge of your seat, because you're like, okay, what are they gonna do next? How's this
Yeah.
scene gonna play out? Like, there's nothing there that just kind of used to go, oh, okay. Like, there's a structure to it, and there's a way everything flows together, and it's like, this is what I've wanted. This is something that I wanted to see since they announced this, and like, it came true, and it was like, oh my god, it was really good.
Yeah, again, from the first and foremost perspective of how was it as an adaptation, like, it's fucking accurate.
Yeah, like,
Not just because, and two, I think what's also important is the fact that, because I think when certain companies like Ubisoft, I think monitored the Assassin's Creed movie, but how much of a say did the original creators get? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Nintendo,
That movie I have seen.
we saw it in theaters.
Oh, I saw it with you.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was you, me, I think
Yeah.
Jerry
Yes.
or Wes, one of the two of them, and us. We saw it. And I just went along to see if I could even understand it, because again, me not playing Assassin's Creed, there was some things like I kind of remember, but like, and also I had to look up the trailer for my video, but
did you do the same thing for like Warcraft or something?
Warcraft.
Yeah,
we
'cause
watched
we saw
Warcraft.
that. Yeah, we saw that too.
And I remember again some things, and that's just me not knowing the games. So of course I'm not gonna remember or understand everything.
But see, here's the thing too. Once you, like, if you were to get into that series and start
seeing the
and start
bits that they took
understanding
from,
everything,
probably.
yeah, then you start appreciating those little things.
But-
You start
but here's-
going back and be like, oh, hey, this is how they did this and how they did that and whatnot.
But here's what I'm saying too. What I'm getting, where I'm getting at with this is, in terms of, because I talked about this in my fucking video. I'll probably just put it in the fucking description so you can watch it after this. But when that movie came out with Assassin's Creed, that's just the first one that came to mind. How much of Ubisoft's input was actually in there? What did they lend to them? And it's a live action movie, so I don't think any direct assets from the games they could have really, besides like concept art and stuff, but with, again, the appropriate medium for a fucking kids movie like this needs to be done in all CGI. This is what I wanted from the Sonic movie. If you're going to do a fucking theatrical movie about a little cartoon fucking fictional character and everything looks cartoony and not human-like to begin with, fucking ground it in its actual medium that makes sense.
Yeah, a good example of that exact thing is the Netflix adaptation of Castlevania. Because Castlevania, right, going as an anime-styled show...
Yeah.
Makes sense, right, for the medium of the game. The same thing.
Especially because how the games are.
Yeah.
Well,
it should look mostly how the game looks.
With something like Castlevania, though, you've got like all the Alucard stuff and like the Lords of Shadow shit, and then you got like the main Simon Belmont shit and all that. So what did they even take from? Did they take from both? Was there a specific subset of Castlevania that they like referenced, or
it was primarily the earlier Castlevania games than the right, but I could see how they probably took some stylization from some of the
later stuff.
Yes, but most of it was from the earlier Castlevanias. Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I didn't know.
But here's the thing. Really. Again, going back to who can pull from what or how that works. Nintendo working with Illumination on this, it being all CGI. Nintendo can like directly give, I mean, they're video game assets, but they can directly give those assets over, and then Illumination figuring out how to movieify it. That's why everything looks fucking exactly like it's from the games.
Even seeing, because I've also been seeing on Twitter that people are uploading pictures, I guess, of like during like the premiere or something like that. They had like concept art lined up on like the walls and stuff, and even when you look at the concept art of some of the things, like. It looks like something Nintendo would have done. If it wasn't them directly, if it was Illumination, it's definitely something that Nintendo could have easily done and given to them, being like, "Here, this is our concept for this."
Because I think again, Nintendo didn't necessarily, because we were all making the jokes before I was of like them being held up at gunpoint, being like, "Okay, we can't put in minions or fart jokes," but no, I don't even think it was that pressurized for them. I think Nintendo just was like, "Okay, you're writing the story," because I mean Ed Scudder's on it and stuff like that. We're just going to usher you in the direction, mainly the direction, plus the jokes and whatever. But first and foremost, where the film's going to go and how it's going to get there. And you see that. You see that it's a very it's a straightforward adventure, like we've been saying. But it's still around every avenue. It's accurate to the goddamn games. And that has been one of the biggest things that have weighed down other adaptations. I'm talking like years ago, because we're thinking of like the 93 film, Mortal Kombat, whatever else. Like, when the casting is a little bit random, there's not even much material from that point in that decade to pull from. And when you're getting people that are in a film mindset first, that's where you start to see the differences on how the movie version looks versus the games version. When these guys are not only Mario fans, but there's way more material to pull from. Nintendo's helping them directly on it, and they're thinking it's a video game movie. It's not a movie that's Mario. It's a Mario movie.
Yeah. One thing that I've always been surprised about is whenever any of these games get adapted, usually, you'll see some like really cool cinematic to whatever game you're going to watch, and there's comments, "Wow, this looks amazing. Like, you should adapt this into a movie," and then they never stylize it based on the cinematics.
No, seriously.
Why do they not do that?
That's what I wanted to see for Sonic. I was like, okay, if there's going to be a theatrical Sonic movie, just do it the way fucking like Unleashed looks or fucking Lost World or something.
I don't understand why they have to completely change it. I know. It's
really funny to me that, and how we talk about the Sonic movie like that, because I remember...
I was like, if there's gonna be a live action CGI Sonic film, just fashioned after the fucking fan film, take inspiration from the fan film, which took inspiration from the fucking comics. Because if the games are all over the place and the comics have a more deeper story you can explore, or just take from whatever you can, and then it's fan service. So I mean, I don't understand why they went with a fucking Alvin and the Chipmunks fucking Smurfs fucking thing.
Cop buddy movie.
Whatever.
No, but it's really funny because I think back to when during when they wanted to make Sonic Extreme or whatever, they wanted to have a Sonic movie to tie in with the game, kind of like how Ratchet and Clank is. Where
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
there's the game, there's the movie. They wanted that with Sonic Extreme, where it was going to be a Sonic movie that ties in with Sonic Extreme, and because of all the development shit that happened, it just never came to be. So, and I believe that that movie was also going to be live action CGI, if I remember right. But it's funny how that just happened years later, and it's like the way they did it, the way it was handled, and everything like that since day one was very poor. It was just very sad to see.
Well, that's because it's an example of when you don't listen. You do the exact opposite of what Nintendo did. You don't listen to the fucking or even Illumination. You don't listen to the people, the creators. You initially don't listen to the fans until the whole fucking internet literally bands together, which it does not do on the normal, to demand a design change or whatever. Like.
That was nuts.
And allegedly,
well deserved.
allegedly, the
so
character
nuts.
artists and designers on the movie were also like, "Hey guys, fans, what you saw in that first trailer is kind of not even what we wanted to do, but Paramount thought it would be good." And it's like, fucking executive meddling, higher ups. What the fuck? They're all these probably 50-year-old somethings in like. 50-something-year-olds, like, in these positions of, like, okay, well, you gotta make it more realistic, because it's live action. And it's, like, completely disregarding the source material.
In all honesty, now that you say it like that, I feel like, yeah, when it comes to certain games being adapted, I also feel like how they're done is by the company, whether it's someone like Illumination or someone like Paramount or whatever. However it's handled internally, which no one knows, but like however it's being handled is also what the result is. So like how the Sonic movies came out and how they aren't right now, I feel that it would have been vastly different if it was handled by just a different company. Not even like
of course.
Like if it wasn't Paramount or whoever else was in on it. If it was just some other company that knew the franchise, knew what they could pull to reference,
because they need to tackle it from a video game perspective. You're making a movie about a video game. You're not making a movie that has video game characters in it. That's what they did. That's why I don't feel like it. I don't feel it was successful in capturing the source material, but Mario did. This Mario one did.
Yeah, it did. It
Because
definitely did.
Look at the difference between the 93 film and the 23 film. 93 film, directors came from some movies no one really saw. This was like their third project. They had they were butting heads with everybody, the directors.
Even
the
each
casting
other.
was a little bit kind of random, and they weren't even fully on board with it, totally. And the conditions for filming and recording and all that weren't all that great. And like, they weren't thinking about the source material. Plus, there wasn't too much from the source material at that point in time to even take from. What was the newest game? Fucking Mario World? So, like, with that said, like, it's fucking insane to think of where they started versus where we are now in terms of video game movies. I still think, as of yesterday, the same fucking franchise that kind of started the video game movie curse kind of broke it. I feel it broke it. And by saying that, what I mean, which is my last point on my phone, is that, I don't even have to look at it, I remember it, is that this film wasn't groundbreaking, but it was a bar setter. It set the bar for what you need to fucking do to be accurate to the source material. If you're not, as far as we go, from a subjective standpoint, it's not going to be very successful.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Fans will fucking eat it up, but from certain people's perspectives, I'm not saying that we matter in the long scheme of things, but other like-minded people will probably be like, yeah, they could have done that a lot better. Mario did it, and did it in such a way where everything just kind of aligned for it to work. And I think the alliance of it worked between Nintendo and Illumination, which means other video game companies will fucking need to not only pick the right movie studios to do these films, but work with them as closely as they can by directly sharing assets or ideas or plot lines or memories or things of what they remember from doing on games past to put into the movie. And it just needs to be tightly fucking written as well, because this movie was very well written.
Oh yeah.
So the writing made everything work, because the writing and the portrayals in mind, that goes onto the paper, and then the actors deliver that portrayal.
The portrayals, I think, was really the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the direction too, just the general direction of where to go.
It all goes, but it all starts from the script. It all starts from pen to paper, and that's what they need to learn now. And with all the with people unfortunately, of course, passing on, they're passing away even, and older. I'm talking about like just older filmmakers and people from these studios, and with new talent and new blood coming into like WB or Paramount or wherever.
Well, they've grown up with this stuff, too.
Who've grown up with this stuff, so they're going to understand it more. Ed Scudder was on the Mario movie, on this one. And he came from Dig Figures and other stuff where they got to nerd out on whatever shit they liked, and they put it into their shows, their fucking YouTube shows, and it's just an understanding. And the more that new blood gets put onto the teams that make these movies and get to do those adaptations, and they're fans of the source material, that should be a shoo-in. At the very least, it should be the beginnings of something good, the makings of something that can be successful and be as accurate as you can, because it's an adaptation. I feel adaptation in terms of video game films, like that should be like its own like subgenre. It kind of already is, sort of, but like, and then you can just start binging all those kinds of movies, so you can just see like, kind of get in the ins and outs of like how they were probably handled, you know.
Because one of the biggest
research them, look at interviews. Because
also, like one of the biggest things too was like how you're saying, finding that perfect medium of like how to adapt it, or how
if
to
it's
make
live
it.
action, like Uncharted was live action, makes sense. If they did it all CGI for whatever reason, they can make it more accurate to what the cutscenes look like or whatever, and like, that's fine.
I would say, aren't there Resident Evil films? That
Yes,
are, like,
we
live
watched
action
one.
Resident
We fucking watched one when we went to the Santa Monica trip.
Resident
for
Evil
Crash
and
Team
Silent
Rumble.
Hill both have
Is there
live
like
adaptations.
I'll say there's live action, and then there's also
We watched one on TV that was based off of fucking RE6.
Yeah.
We didn't know what it was at first, but then I was like, wait, is that Leon? Like, is he even in 6? Like, what the fuck? And then we were looking at, like,
Doom also has one.
Doom. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So, like,
But yeah, like
just find the right fucking medium.
so yeah, like if it looks like it can be adapted into live action, then try to find that way of like making it feel like the games while still having actors and stuff that look like the characters and
Because
can portray
certain
the characters
games
well.
can be done in live action. I mean, a good example is what's the show that recently came out? The Last of Us. That's been getting really good reviews from what I can tell. And
I've heard people.
The only
say
reason
good
why I
things about
haven't
it.
really gone into it yet and haven't seen anything is because the casting looks a little weird to me. I just can't see the two leads
That's
being the two leads from the games.
A friend of mine has the same problem.
Yeah.
But my point is, overall,
I bet, yeah, it's been doing very
that's been
positive,
doing
yeah.
really well, right? But that game is already based on a realistic style, right? And that's why that translates well into live action, right?
Because with stuff like that, it could be either live action or
Well,
animated. and stuff
if anything, I've been hearing good things from the Last of Us show about how good the I know they're not called zombies. I'm forgetting what they're called right now, but the clickers and everything else, like how good they look in the show. Because I don't know if it's how much like concept art or whatever else that Naughty Dog gave them, or that they looked over for the team that did the show, but like they got them to look relatively accurate to what they're like in the games. So that was one thing I heard that was very positive about that show.
That show is also already very cinematic. I mean, excuse me, the game is,
Yeah.
which translates well to that medium as well.
Yeah.
I'd argue to say like freaking Assassin's Creed is like that too, isn't it? Isn't it like isn't the games like mostly like cinematic?
Yeah, there was a lot more.
but-
there was a lot more potential for that than the movie we got. That's what I was saying.
And it was the story.
Yeah.
It was the story. I think it was how
Right.
they kind of integrated, like, because in the fucking games,
I think that movie could be redone and done better.
Like for example, the games were like just they in themselves are all contained within those time periods, right? It's not like some kind of it's modern day and the dude has to go back through. Is it really in that sense?
So, Assassin's Creed, yes. So your main character is modern day, and so he's like a. Don't quote me on everything. I'm not an Assassin's Creed like professional here. I've played some of the games, but the gist of it essentially is, you are, that's the Creed, right?
Yeah.
And you are part of that from modern day, and I don't remember the exact reason, but for whatever reason, they have to pull information from like your ancestry, your past memories, and so they put you more or less into this machine, and you synchronize, and you can go through.
Okay, so it
all
literally
your
is.
So
I just thought that was made up for the movie.
Yeah, so that was
I
not.
didn't know.
No, the way they handled it was kind of weird. But technically, that
the general concept was kind of from
was correct. Yes.
I see.
Then it's just a matter of like handling certain things, like stuff like that, right?
Yeah. And again, right? That was
like what to pull from, what to reference, what to use.
But how to portray it.
Yeah.
Correct.
All of it fucking works together.
Yeah, those were really the problems. Yeah, and so, I'm saying not only do we have a growing talent that's lived in the gaming genre now, because all those older, movie producers,
people,
they're really good at what they do. There's nothing about, like, of course, right? I'm not dissing them. It's just that they don't have video game experience, which makes it hard for them to direct such a project,
or even
right?
Even if they do, and again, it depends on what decade it's made in. If it's a 2000s thing, they might have a little bit more understanding, maybe, if that's the story they want to tell. But then looking back at the 90s movies, there wasn't much to pull from. A, B, they came off of projects that had nothing to do with video game shit.
Yeah.
How well do they know the games?
Video game industry was new.
Yeah.
The games they had were way simpler too. So not only did you only have a couple games to go off of, right?
You're translating pixels on the screen.
If your one game was Odyssey, I'm sure you'd still not be good, but you'd do a lot. But
just adapt Odyssey.
You'd have a lot more to pull from than Super Mario, the original game, right? Like this is the reality of the situation, right? They were trying to pull from literally like nothing.
Because talking about stuff like that makes me think of the Street Fighter movie. Like they have almost little to nothing to pull from.
So here's the thing, right? There were two of them. There was that '90s one, and then there was the Chun-Li one with Kristen Crook, Lana from Smallville. That one was weird. Okay, so speaking of that, I don't know if we've really learned our lesson just yet, but because the Mario movie is still brand spanking new, I'm sure that other
But at least we have a
adaptations will
reference.
Follow. Sure, because check this out. Street Fighter, Capcom just announced there's going to be another live-action Street Fighter movie. Then there's the fucking live-action Minecraft movie.
Oh my fucking god.
Both
Wait,
of them
what? That's a thing?
Yes.
Yes, that is.
He just saw it too.
I saw it and I was like, haha, I'm sorry, what?
So, another example of
They have apparently
medium, like, you can't translate everything to
say,
live action.
Guys, Minecraft story mode exists. It's been gift wrapped for you. Fucking take that.
Seriously,
I say,
I
they
don't
have-
understand the mentality. Because so many people, the reason they do that is because there's a large portion of people that are just like, live action is better. End of discussion. I'm like, that's just straight up false.
That is straight up false.
There are
Just
certain
because
things that live action does really well. There are certain things that animation does
Okay,
really well.
okay.
Just-
Do you think that's a
It is an art
graphical thing?
right? Just how like certain art styles work with certain things. Live action is an art style, right?
I was gonna say, like, just because something might look good in live action, that doesn't mean that it's going to be that or that it can be portrayed that way.
Ironically, in the realm of adaptations, tracing the source material to video games, that's been the whole graphical fidelity argument for like the last decade and a half. Oh, Uncharted looks better than Crash Bandicoot because Crash is CGI looking. Well, it's all CGI, but it's cartoony and stylized. But Uncharted has so much detail in the background because the engine they're using can handle it, and it looks photorealistic. It's more cinematic. Who fucking cares? Crash 4, for example, is still a goddamn good game.
Well, that's the
It
thing
doesn't
is,
matter in the long run.
people, I know that's another thing. People put so much emphasis on just the graphics, right? To me, what's way more important is the artistic style, right?
For me, it's the substance. What are we watching or playing or doing?
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
Is it going to be fun?
I'll say for me, I really don't give a shit on how something looks as long as long as I can find something to enjoy about it. If I can find something that I can say, oh yeah, that was pretty cool. That's more than enough for me to be like, oh yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, when I say art style, what I just meant against graphical fidelity,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
but
art style,
from a
that-
game
I mean-
style, gameplay is king, right? Like when it comes to a game, that's what I care about most, right? I don't want the game to look absolutely horrendous, right? But
I mean,
but,
I like
at
for
the end
it
of the
to
day,
function.
yeah. But at the end of
Here's
the
thing,
day,
if it looks like shit and plays
if
well,
it plays
you
well,
can still find some like fun
correct,
from that.
correct.
That's what-
Like I said,
that's what I'm saying.
overall, gameplay is king.
Yeah, that's what I'm
If a
saying.
game is
Like,
fun, it's fun.
If I was like, that's what I'm saying. I don't care how it looks. If I can find something to enjoy from it and be like, oh yeah, that was pretty nice. That's more than enough for me to
visuals
to
is more
really
of a,
appreciate it.
It's more of a bonus than it is
It's
a
something that's
requirement.
Visuals is something for eye candy. That's solely what it is. Because if you can be like, oh, that looks really pretty, but can you really talk much about it because of how it looks? Because it's like you can just look at that shit in like real life. You can go somewhere and it looks similar.
Here's the thing too, like with Mario's in a different realm than a lot of other franchises because it is so universal. How there was that thing a while back where they were like, hey, Mario's getting up there with Mickey Mouse as one of the most recognizable cartoon characters in history.
I was about to say that. Like, isn't like McDonald like the only other one?
McDonald. But here's the thing. So when someone's critiquing something, us included, of course, like because we were having this kind of problem, but we were acknowledging it too at the same time when we walked out of the theater of, okay, unbiased opinion because everyone's grown up with the Mario movie or with Mario. Even
my grandma knows who Mario is. She hasn't never played a game in her life.
My grandma loves Mario.
Exactly. Yeah.
And even if they don't play video games or they're too old to play video games, they'll at least know who it is because they'll remember the 80s, they'll remember the 90s, they'll remember when that Mario boom was there.
I know. I mean, they make a joke about it all the time, right? People are like, oh yeah, I just got the new video game console, and it's like a PS5. And they're like, oh, you got the Nintendo? You played a Mario?
But yeah, like, it's funny what sticks with people. Like, Pac-Man sticks with older people, and Pong sticks with older people. And so you don't even have to play video games, but you know who...
Everyone knows who Pac-Man is.
Yeah. So if they ever do a Pac-Man, oh, wait, I think they are. Guess what? It's live action. Like, they better change that shit. They better fucking find someone else to do it.
Live action Pac-Man. What I'm picturing right now is the Jack in the Box guy. It's just a Pac-Man head instead.
Jesus. I picture the fan film.
That one. Well, it wasn't a fan film. It was a fan trailer.
Or the fan trailer. I meant, yeah.
There was this infamous fan trailer that we found. It's so funny, but it's cool. But it's supposed to be stupid and silly, and that's all it was meant to be. And it has nothing to do with this, but live action Pac-Man.
Or I could go Jerry's route, where he just turned my head into Pac-Man. It's just a giant head.
Pac Chase. Dude, that's a deep cut callback, man.
Pac Chase.
That's a deep cut fucking reference. I'm surprised you still remember that. Yeah.
How?
Because it's you, but still,
it's me.
Jesus. So I guess the only other thing that we can say before we close out,
I have one thing as well, actually.
Oh, then go ahead.
I was gonna say is because we were talking about a little while ago now, but you were bringing up like where could we see additional movies coming in? Talking about.
Well, I was about to go through that.
What I was gonna say is, if this does well, and if they make another movie and it does well, do you see Nintendo maybe going kind of like a Marvel route where they start to do some of their other games, and then you end up with like the Avengers kind of thing where they all come together?
I believe that's just kind of been the topic of the Mario movie and it coming out.
The thing is,
do you see a Zelda film coming out? Do you see more Pokemon? Do you see a Metroid or Star Fox or?
It's very easy to come to that conclusion because Marvel did it and did it so well. For those first 10 years, it was insane because you just get the Iron Man movies, the first two anyway, and then you get Thor and Captain America. But then to see all of that come together, that was not done to that scale before, and for it being like this public thing, and it was garnering so much attention. So now with how fucking far Marvel is into their shit, now we're in the era of multiverses and cinematic universes because it's not just Marvel. There was that one dark universe that I think Universal was trying to do where they were going to revamp all their monster movies, and that flopped. And there are just so many different universes like that are coming out and
it's not like forming.
And
it's not like that would be out of the norm for Nintendo, considering Smash Brothers is basically
the video game version of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And if anything, Smash Brothers is so, which we didn't really mention that much in our podcast about it, but it is so unique in the fact that even though there have been mighty crossovers like that in the past with other properties and stuff, to do it with that many recognizable video game brands on that big of a scale for a fighting game, never been done and will never be done like Smash Brothers. So So to do that in movie form, because Nintendo's got a hell of a lot of properties, they would have to take the baby steps. They can't just launch into it. We don't want a DC versus Marvel effect where Marvel did a gradual build up to it, and then DC was like, shit, Man of Steel did okay, Batman. And now they're teaming up. And then, but then Wonder Woman's there maybe for a little bit, and then Justice League. And it's like, you have no direction. What the fuck is going on here?
I know. And then...
not to mention this shit going on with DC right now.
That's why DC Batman's like the only thing that DC has that's consistent. Like,
and even that's... Because you got the Patterson one, and then you got Joker, which is getting a fucking sequel that I don't like. And it's like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, DC...
That's what happens when you have no direction. And here's the funny thing. We talked about this in the last, episodes. Nintendo wanted to do more media-based things with their IP, but the 93 Mario movie hurt them so bad that they just fucking recoiled and just bear hugged their fucking IP so tight.
And it wasn't just that. I mean, that was definitely a stinger, but they also had the whole Philips CDI crap.
That too,
around,
yeah.
Which just another thing. Nintendo just didn't want to give their shit away.
It was just the era from back then where they kind of they were able to freely just kind of be like, okay, this company's gonna do this and do an adaptation of this. Oh, that
it was that sense of trust for the most part.
Yeah, it was just
and communication.
They got burned at so many levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when that Zelda pitch happened from the guys that did, it was the Magi or whatever studios, the guys that did the TMNT movie, they're like, no, just no. And it was still happening even a couple of years back because there was that the Star Fox thing that was going to happen, and then there was a Zelda Netflix show.
Yeah,
but they were leaked, and just by the mere leak of it, they're like, oh, we're pulling the plug on that shit.
Yeah, they canceled it.
And I think it was because of what happened with the Mario movie. The Mario movie, we're even glad that we got it the way it was and how it happened. Because when those McDonald leaks happened and other things like that, and the cast listing, people were laughing at the cast choice. And but the thing is, Nintendo gave us a bit to chew on their own terms. When it was leaked, I think Nintendo didn't want people to get a bad first impression and then just start going in on, it looks like shit, I don't like it, I don't know. And they didn't want that kind of attention on those things. It was PTSD to fucking the 93 film. So they were like, no, just no. Pulling those plugs, no. But now that they've got their own, they've had the time on their own terms again to pick up a studio. They've got Nintendo Pictures. And now with this deal happening with Illumination, the fact that the movie's doing so good right now, it's giving them that confidence to start trying again. But get involved.
Because also, earlier today, like right before we started this, I saw a thing that said that currently at this time, they don't really have plans to do other movies at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like they're gonna let
it's too early too.
I feel they're gonna let this simmer for a while and gain what the audience reaction is, truly see how everyone reacted.
Exactly.
And then
there's a lot to learn from this.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yes.
Right? How are the gamers reacting to this? How are general critics reacting to this?
It's
How's the overview? Right? Where are we getting hate? Where are we getting a lot of appreciation? And how can we take that knowledge and put it into
it's just gathering information and learning from it and trying to be like, okay, how can we do this better? It's like, how can we do this better? How can we change this or do that? That's basically
they're in a position right now where they have plenty of time to pace themselves, and I think that's exactly what they should do.
Now here's the thing: what Marvel did. Marvel charted out this plan of where they wanted to go.
Yeah,
they kind of figured their destination, sort of, and then we're just figuring out on a movie by movie basis how that was gonna, and then stuff started changing.
Yeah, because it was their
fucking phase 4 and shit was like the weirdest shit because COVID happened, and then trying to figure out, okay, this movie was supposed to happen before this one, but we're gonna switch that, and then this is just gonna get canned entirely. Like, so you never know what to expect, and that's what Nintendo.
Some of the movies like flopped and stuff like that. Like
yeah, but even you probably think of Eternals and stuff like that, but they've got post-credit shit, so they have to find a way to tie it in somehow. Take elements from it and learn, like you were saying. But Nintendo has to kind of learn the way Marvel's been doing for charting out a destination, figuring out how to get there. But Nintendo also needs to learn, in this day and age, since things are different, that they can kind of fail and not to let it make them go, okay, bear hugging those IP again. This whole Nintendo
Yeah,
Pictures thing,
I'll say yeah.
canning the whole thing.
I'll say
You
yeah.
got the Mario movie, you got maybe one or two others. That's it. We're done.
Yeah, I don't see Nintendo having another epic
say,
fail
Yeah.
like before.
I don't want them to like revert back to being like, okay, yeah, no, never mind, no, I change it.
Yeah.
Or-
Because again, they could just do the shit themselves, but them being a video game company first and then not being able to, sacrifice the hands to do it themselves for only shorts. Because what do you see with, Nintendo's shorts? Well, they're just that. And you've got Pikmin, you've got a Star Fox thing here and there. With their collaborations with other developers, think about it this way. The first time I think that I can recall they teamed up with Square Enix, that was the Mario RPG, but it was a Mario game first and foremost. They kind of snuck in some of their own designs or their own characters in there from Square Enix's end, but it was Nintendo and Mario first. Mario Sports Mix, Square Enix, the mages and stuff and all them, but it's Mario first. Teamed up with Ubisoft, Mario and Rabbids. They have to go hand in hand. It needs to be equal. But it's the Rabbids in Mario's world. So Nintendo is always controlling the narrative there and controlling the project in that sense. They even told Ubisoft it can't be a platformer because we do Mario platformers. That is our thing. So it's also kind of testing them to kind of the other developer to kind of figure out how to make an engaging game with their characters. But Nintendo still has the say and has the helping. So they're taking what they've learned from doing all that with other game developers, and now that they're trying to do this venture, they're trying to do that with other studios.
Yeah, other studios.
But this one, I would say this worked without a hitch. So it opens the door now, and other people are going to want to get in bed with Nintendo for these movies to be able to show, hey, we can do a fucking Star Fox movie with the art style of something like that new TMNT movie from Seth Rogen or Spider-Verse. That would look dope. I'm just saying, but it will open up, as you guys were saying, the door for stuff like that to happen. And if their roadmap leads to a Smash Brothers movie or show or some shit, then by God, it better be good, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, exactly. Because now with how good the movie is currently doing and how it's probably going to do as the weeks go by, I really do feel that this movie is going to be the door opening to a whole bunch of other things that could be just as good as this movie. Yeah. And I feel that it could lead to something. It could lead to something even more and whatnot. Them opening up more to doing more things. And just doing more, basically.
And I just hope that if they're going to be adapting more IP, to just do it, the tone and everything else on an IP by IP basis, which they've been doing with the games. So Zelda needs to kind of be a little bit funny, but have that epicness and that heart to it. Metroid needs to be dark and gritty.
Yeah, because the same. They all the games have different feels, so they
Kirby
have to
needs to be
those.
cute as fuck. That can't be hard to mess up. Yeah.
Just take from right back at you or something like that.
I like to see, I don't know how negotiations or whatever, if they have any negotiations with anything, how Pokemon gets done with all their stuff, because they've had a bunch of movies and shows and stuff. If there's going to be a Nintendo Picture specific take on Pokemon so it can join that universe, unless they decide to take, because Ash already had his run in universe. He already became the Pokemon champion. So there's another show in development right now that's about a new cast.
Yeah.
So Pokemon's kind of doing its own thing, but if they decide to bring it in with this whole thing, how would they do that? Because then you have Detective Pikachu, which is just its own little bubble of, well, it's not from, they don't reference Ash or anything like that necessarily. Maybe a nod or two to some of the anime, but it's its own thing. So we've talked a lot about this damn movie. It left that big an impact. I personally feel that this one was the bar setter and essentially broke the video game movie curse for how accurate you can get it to the games, down to the mechanics, the look, the feel, the music, the sound effects, sound design, the character portrayals, the casting, if it has to be that different from the games. Because the Ratchet movie wasn't too different. It had its celebrities, but it wasn't that different from the games.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I feel like since Ratchet I feel like Ratchet was kind of the one to be we can do a film of our video game.
I
and,
still
like,
feel that movie
here's-
comes close. I'm sorry to anyone who disagrees. I
I'll say,
don't.
but see, that's the thing.
I think it was good.
I'll say,
I think the
that's what
Ratchet movie was good.
I think that the Ratchet movie was close to it, and the Mario movie pushed that to
Yeah.
like to the like.
That's what I
the
felt would
maximum.
happen. That's what I felt would happen, and I'm glad that it pretty much did.
Because I'll say like because with Ratchet it's an adaptation to where it's like it basically just takes from like the remake just from the game and
Well,
whatnot.
yeah, well, because
It's-
they were developed together.
yeah, you know, and that's why I know that people are like, oh, it's just cutscenes the movie or whatever.
Well, it's
But-
that Miharu has her own thing too about it. She can explain it to you if you ever need to hear it from a fan's perspective, who's been around since the earlier games,
No,
which
no,
we
let's say-
weren't really. Even though the first Ratchet game was the first game I ever played, but I was like 17 or 18 already, so like I didn't grow up with it.
I know, but I'm saying like I feel like with how that was structured and how it played out and everything, while it was still kind of like a one-to-one thing with how the game is, at least how the remake is, the Mario movie is like an adaptation where it pulls from multiple sources, and a whole bunch of stuff that you could put in. It was just a matter of what can you pull in, what can you get, what could you use in these certain scenarios, and like adapt it to a film.
How can you
to
get
where-
laughs out of it
Yeah, like how
and
how
just
can
make
you,
it fun to watch?
Yeah, how can you structure it to where it's like you like how we were saying how like for those who grew up with Mario, for those who know Mario, like they can point and be like, oh hey, there's that reference, or
Yeah.
there's this and that.
Yeah.
And for like a general audience, it's like I honestly think that for a general audience, it's one of those. It's just
They
it's
can
one
get
of
into
those.
it.
It's one of those films where it's just like how we saw in the theater. It's parents taking their kids over to see it, and it's like it's a movie with a cartoon character. Basically, you don't have to think of it as like a video game film. You can think of it as like a cartoon movie.
That's what I was saying.
And like you could still get some enjoyment out of it because I'm thinking because when we watched it, I was trying to balance both in my mind of a fan of Mario and a general like movie watcher.
Yeah.
Like and I was trying to see if there was that perfect balance, and I personally think there is. I think that even if you're not a fan of Mario, even if you don't know who Mario is or whatever, like I'm
It would be
sure,
very hard to come across somebody. You'd be
Sure.
hard pressed to find someone
Sure.
who has no idea who
sure,
Mario
but
is.
I'm saying like even if you don't know who Mario is and not a fan of him, like
Yeah.
you could still watch the movie and be like, yeah, this is a good film.
This was fun.
This is something that's like a kid could enjoy and stuff like that. Like kids nowadays, like they could look at it and be like, oh yeah, it's a Mario movie. Like kind of like think about it like this with the old with 93 movie. I'm sure people were like, oh yeah, a Mario movie, sick. And but because of just how it was handled and how everything played out, it was just like, oh, that's just not good at all. But with how this was handled and how it was done, it's like everyone can enjoy it. Like what people didn't like before, they can like it now.
Well,
And like
30 years of improvement and of the series evolving, the source material evolving, I mean, obviously helped. But yeah, we're starting to become broken records at that point. Like
I know.
comparing the '93 film to this one.
But it's still a
I get
point
it,
to
yeah,
bring
I
up
get
because
it.
it's like, you know,
Um,
oh my god, I'm starting to get fucking hot in here. I need to stand up.
yeah.
Oh, God.
What else? What else do you have to contribute, Jace?
That was my last point.
Yeah. She's like, I stopped talking 40 minutes ago.
It was not that long ago.
I want to laugh if it was. I mean, that's just how we feel. Video game movie adaptations are so fucking hard to get right, and when people saying that, not just the three of us, it's like, then how would you get it right? I feel this.
I'll say
is how you get it right.
Let's say it's like what's that point of being like this is a video game adaptation? Because honestly, from anything that I've ever seen, like people can get to that point of being like, oh, it's close. It's they translated this well, but it's not something to really like. How can I say it?
I mean, okay, here's the thing. You're never going to find that one... I'm sorry. We're never going to find that one movie that everyone can unanimously say is perfect for an adaptation.
Oh,
Which is why
for
kind of
sure.
like yesterday I was saying that what they did is they prioritized their fans, and I think that's the right thing. That's why that score is divided, right? When you
Yeah.
go to the user score, it's high because that's the target they were going for. And clearly they were successful with that target audience, right? They didn't. I don't think they went in with the goal. I mean, like you're saying, some people can still, not everyone. Clearly, by the reviews, there's a reason why there's a split, but there are some. But at the end of the day, their goal was to appease their fans. They did that successfully. I'd say that's job accomplished, right?
It's gonna launch something for sure.
Yeah.
They're ready. Maybe not in the talks, maybe not publicly, and they just said that to be like, yeah, we don't have plans right now, but maybe they're gonna start thinking about it in the future, and I'm sure they will. This can't,
for sure, yeah.
Can't of course be the only movie under that umbrella, but
it's something that, this is something that I
this
feel
was
like
the bar setter.
Yeah, it's something that set the bar, and it is something that will stick with people. That will be like, yeah, this film was really good, or this film was like probably one of the best adaptations I've ever seen, or whatever. It's something that can impact you to be like, oh yeah, like I like that, or like being like, yeah, this is accurate, or whatever, however you structure it. But it's like,
I mean, just when it comes down to it, it's not the games, but it's trying to, pay homage to the games. It's clearly made by people who know and love the games, and it's for people who play the games. And when it's a video game movie adaptation, I think that needs to be at the forefront of everyone's mind who's making the damn thing.
Yeah, who do you want making it, right? Yeah, the people who obviously care and know about it are the ones you want working on it, right?
So yeah, with that whole New Blood thing we're talking about, like, hopefully we can only kind of go up from here, but with other little weird shit happening, like the live-action Minecraft movie, who knows how it's going to turn out. I don't know if it's going to be like this absolute parody of Minecraft, or if it's going to try and play it straight and be some kind of weird live-action adaptation of the game. I don't know.
Watch it just be like the best movie ever.
Hey,
I'm gonna bet that it's not, but you never know.
Steve's in Smash Brothers. He knows Mario. Minecraft World can be in the Nintendo Cinematic Universe, the NCU.
So
This is the birth of the NCU. Is there anything else left to say?
this is 2.5 hours worth of content.
yeah.
What do you want the sequel to be? Yoshi was in the end.
Yeah,
In a weird Aliens reference. So, was it Aliens?
I don't even know.
I believe it was Aliens.
It probably
Goes
was.
to show how much I know my movies.
Honestly, honestly for me right now, it's just, I hope that when they do, if they plan to do more things with their IPs and stuff, I hope they take what they did with this film and continue to do that, continue to make that structure like how it is, and have it be like, this is how you adapt the games to be like a film or whatever.
I mean, yeah.
Make a good Zelda movie, please.
I mean, Nintendo can make it pretty damn accurate. Would you want a movie or a show, though? Do you think they'd be able to do more with certain games' plot lines and stuff if it were...
Yeah, I think it
A
would
show?
fit. Yeah, either show or like an extended
'Cause
Lord
we
of the
talked
Rings
about-
kind of trilogy kind of
Yeah,
thing.
because we talked about that, though. Like, if they made like a solo movie on Zelda, what would you adapt? Because
That's the thing. Yeah.
not only are there really... And because Zelda, as a game franchise, is more cinematic and has more story and lore to it than Mario does, obviously.
Yeah. The type of movie and how it was portrayed would have to be different
It'd have to be different.
to fit the style. Correct. And what's funny is Zelda, in terms of energy, I think has a little bit wider of a range too, because like you have everything from like Wind Waker, where it's very
Cartoony. Yeah,
it's cartoony.
right, and then you have like Twilight Princess and
Yeah.
Majora's Mask, which is like the opposite, right? And so
The in-between, like Ocarina
right,
and
how
Majora.
they kind of mashed a lot of Mario together in a film would be harder to do, I think, with Zelda. Not that it couldn't be done. I think it would just be a little bit more difficult to do.
There'd have to be a new mindset for it. They
Yeah.
can't go into it being like, well, we did it this way in the Mario movie, let's do it this
Correct.
way.
No, you would
Yeah,
need
no.
to. That's a different problem that needs to be tackled with its own plan.
Yeah.
Yes. But that being said, yes. So to answer your question, yes. Like I either an extended movie series or a show, which would probably be the way I would prefer it. I think that would probably be a little bit safer of a way to handle it. So I think that I know they got canceled, but originally their plans to make like Netflix shows was probably the right way to go about it. But ultimately, what I really mean is just give me Zelda content, I guess.
I just want Zelda.
I just want Zelda.
Last words, Vic?
I'm excited to see where this cinematic universe is
Where
going to
the
go.
future takes us.
I mean, exactly. That's pretty much it.
Oh, this should be the last we talk about the Mario movie in great detail. This was very great detail.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll get brought up.
We probably left
occasionally
some shit
here
out
and there.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
but,
we
like-
brought some things and left it.
But we definitely got the meat of it.
Yeah. It was good. Sonic 2 was better. Tune in next time. Jesus, I'm gonna get chewed out in the comments for that. Yeah, have a good day.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba.
That was only one burp joke in the entire movie.
There was also-
and no fart jokes.
There was also one Seth Rogen laugh.
I laughed out loud. I had to put my hand over my mouth because I laughed too loud.
Yeah.
When that happened, that shit was funny.